Don't hurt me.
Happening and it freaks me out.
Oh, it's stone gas, man.
Hello, and we are live. Welcome to episode number 14 of Regionfree. Let me see if I'm coming through loud and clear. I am indeed. How is everyone tonight? Let's see who we got with us so far here. We have got Jess Graham, Borderline 11, Rick Plamond. And Rick, how's it going, man? How's everything up in Canada? Richard Skarinki, Sean McManus, my buddy Keith, Captain Halloween. How's it going? And there is DJ Donnelly. Hope everybody's doing well. Winter's finally over up here in Northwest BC. That's cool, man. There's the Daily Ghost. How's everybody doing tonight? Before we dive into the topics that we have on the docket, I want to draw everyone's attention over to our Patreon. That link is in the description. And we have a brand new commentary up on our Patreon for The Watcher in the Woods with Stone Gasman and special guest Scott Michael Bosco. So that is available right now on our Patreon. You can become a Regionaire today for as little as, I think it's $3. So that link's in the description. Head over there and check it out. And if you want to throw a little love at the show, a little extra love, we would appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get everything rolling here tonight. First, I have with me all the way from New York City, Mr. Stone Gasman. What's up, Stone?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Piz. Yeah, glad to be back on the show after a few months hiatus, and got a brand new Blu-ray review and brand new commentary, as you mentioned, and just enjoying the warmer weather here in New York and just working and, going through day after day.
There you go. Well, good to have you back. Very cool. And thank you for that commentary. Everybody go check out that commentary over on our Patreon. Very cool. Also with me tonight, another Regionfree member returning after a bit of a hiatus. Christian Hanna. What's going on, Christian?
What's up, Piz? Back at it again with the Bronson shirt tonight. I love it.
Got to represent Bronson whenever possible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll drink to that, man.
There you go. Got to rep Bronson whenever possible. So,
That's right. I'm not as cool. I got sleepaway camp. That's close, but that's no cigar.
Sleepaway camp's pretty cool. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Ready to rock. Glad to be back, man.
All right, very cool. Very cool. Also with me tonight, making her second appearance on Region Free, Horror Gal Susan. What's up, Susan?
Hey, everybody. I'm good. I'm so glad to be here. I can't wait until you and Christian and I all wear the Bronson shirts together. I think we should all have the Bronson shirt on an episode. That would be amazing.
I'll do it.
I want to come back on a Bronson episode.
Everybody needs a Bronson shirt. I mean,
yes. It's so good to be here. You guys are awesome. So I'm really flattered to be asked back because I am technologically challenged. And last time it was a little bit of a train wreck for me. And I was like, oh my God, they're never even going to speak to me again. so I'm really flattered and just happy to be here. So thanks.
Well, we're glad to have you back. It's good to see you. And thanks for coming back, Susan.
Absolutely.
Right on. Also with me tonight, the legendary, the professor, the man behind the pop filter, B-Movie Mike.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back.
How you doing, man?
Mike.
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Man, Mike.
It's going to be a good show tonight. Good to see some familiar faces back in action. Missed you guys.
Very cool. Also with me tonight, we have got Lauren. How's it going, Lauren?
What an intro.
You're muted, Lauren. You're muted.
Oh, and he muted himself. Oh my God, he ruined it.
I didn't mute anything, so that tells you something. I have no problem with my voice booming out at inappropriate moments. My faith in humanity is going to be tested because I decided to cut into my retirement plan and make a purchase from the dollar store of this grow alligator. Now, the thing about this that's going to decide whether humanity can live or not is it claims it grows up to 600% of its regular size. Now, Mike, this would be bigger than your typical bathtub at this point. So you need a swimming pool in order to make this thing work. So unless I've been misled, you got the snake. Forget the fucking Bronson shirts. Where are you guys at with your growing animals?
We got real ones in Louisiana.
No kidding. Right?
Well, send one of those up. I'm happy with that too.
I got real ones here in Florida. I don't need the fake ones.
Cheers, Mike.
Let me know how don't take this the wrong way, but let me know how big yours gets.
I want to see you put it in the tub.
I don't have a bathtub.
I bought.
You have to do it in the shower.
I bought 3 of these things. One of them was the alligator. I don't know about 600%, but they definitely get pretty big. So
yeah.
Is that straight out of the Roger Corman Creature Shop?
Oh no. I spent more than that.
Oh my God.
Oh. Caught most of it.
Oh no!
While you're cleaning that up, I'll introduce Monty.
Hello, everybody. I can see the show is off to a very eccentric start tonight. Jeez, we've got raw snakes, alligators. Laura wants to know how big they are. He's tearing up the stuff in his house. We're gonna have fun tonight. I'm ready to go.
It's all happening. Yes.
He got a little overexcited about that, didn't he?
Oh, jeez. Wow.
We take an extra week off and everything just falls apart.
Yeah. I'm happy to be back, everybody. Let's go.
Yeah, good to have you back, Monty. Always good, man. Oh goodness. Well, let's go ahead and while Lauren's cleaning up, let's talk about Mortal Kombat. Anybody see the new Mortal Kombat movie?
I did.
Mike, Christian?
I haven't seen it yet.
It's another big hit. Warner Brothers is rolling them out, and they're making tons of money. So, hey, good for them. I saw Mortal Kombat. What were your thoughts, Mike?
Overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, the first 2 weren't exactly, high benchmarks. I mean, I loved the first film, but we're not talking Shakespeare here. We're talking Mortal Kombat. So it didn't have a high level to live up to. Outside of a few character development situations that I thought were very weak. Overall, it was satisfying. I enjoyed it. It's a good popcorn flick. It's nice to see the blood return to Mortal Kombat. Most of the characters were cool. I agree with pretty much everybody that the new lead character, Cole, is the weakest link. And I don't blame the actor. I blame the script because there's like zero character development for him. We meet him. He's on our hero's journey, but we miss like the first part of the journey. So how am I supposed to be invested in a character when I don't know anything about him or how he got to be where he's at? But, you know, hey, like everybody says, Kano damn near broke his back carrying the middle of the film. And thank God for Kano because, you know, everybody else is really cool. I like the characterizations of Liu Kang and Kung Lao and Cabal. And, you know, they're all great. Raiden. You know, so I watched it. I saw it at a drive-in, and then I came home and immediately watched it again on HBO Max just to see if there was anything I missed. And, you know, I could do away with like the middle part. So I kind of like fast forward after the beginning till the time Kano's introduced. Yeah. So like that section, you know, you're not missing anything if you don't watch it. That's unfortunate, but it's still a great flick. I didn't really understand. No, Sub-Zero was a good guy at the beginning, but now he's a bad guy. And Scorpion is a good guy, but he was a bad guy. And why is Sub-Zero speak at the beginning? He's speaking Chinese mixed with Japanese to his wife, and it's like, well, if this is feudal Japan and this is a war of the clans, why is Sub-Zero speaking Chinese but Scorpion can't understand him because he speaks Japanese? And what's the conflict that led up to the moment? So there's a lot of missing character development in there that makes it kind of hard to be involved in the overall story. I don't know if it's due to reshoots or edits or just bad script writing. I mean, come on, guys. The script is the least of the budget, but the most important thing. You know, so, you know, take the time if you're going to make a movie to try to develop the characters, do it right. I mean, because Cole could have been a much better character had they just spent a little extra time. Okay, so when we meet him, he's a $200 a fight punching bag, but he was former champion. Okay, so what happened? How did he get that way? Why should I care about his eventual change back into a champion when I don't know what happened in the first place? And then he only wins one fight on his own, and everybody has to keep bailing him out, but he's a superhero guy? I mean, I don't know. There was a few problems with the writing, but other than that, it was solid. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they definitely tinkered with the meta from the games, you know. But the games tinkered with the meta themselves as they progressed. So I mean,
exactly. And I don't. It seems like one of the story modes from one of the later games, you know, where you have a story and then a fight and a story and then a fight.
Yeah.
So that part didn't bother me. That seemed like logical for a movie. You can't just have a tournament and that's it. So you know, it was good. It's just I didn't understand the character swap with Sub-Zero and Scorpion and why one was this way and one was the other way, but there was no explanation as to why they were enemies in the first place. You just kind of had to take it on faith that there was issues between the two. Now Scorpion's like the sympathetic anti-hero,
right?
And Sub-Zero is now the bloodthirsty goon of Shang Tsung, but we don't really understand how that happened or why. Well, it was yeah, it's a good cartoon flick.
It'll all be explained in the sequel. It'll all be
and maybe Johnny Cage will be in the sequel though. Hey,
if I was gonna guess, Mike, I think that after all these years, the fan favorite character is Scorpion at the end of the day. And I think that's probably why they did that. You know, because I'm with you. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. In Annihilation, Sub-Zero was a good guy. What the hell is... Oh, wait a minute. Why am I connecting Annihilation to this? What the hell is wrong with me? But I'm pretty much with you. I thought Cole was like this reluctant hero that didn't even want to do anything. Get him out of here. And not only that, I thought he was going to be Scorpion the whole time. He was turning yellow. So I thought he was going to be Scorpion. But I'm with you. I thought it was fair. I thought it was great. The Mortal Kombat movie if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, the movie in your head, there's no way whatever they make is ever going to match it. The Mortal Kombat movie in my head is amazing. I mean, it's a very big budget movie too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it was fine. My number one thing when I was talking about when I was watching my wife, I said, if Goro isn't in this movie, I will be pissed because that's my favorite character is Goro. and thankfully I got them. CGI I didn't bother me. Of course, I love my rubber Mortal Goro from the first one, but I mean, at a certain point, CGI's got to start looking pretty damn good. I mean, how long has it been around now? So I thought it was fine, the CGI. So I love Goro. That was my favorite scene. I thought Goro's scene was awesome. I didn't want to see him die because maybe we'll get that Bengal tiger forearm guy that's in the game too for the next one. So, maybe that'll happen, but I'm with you. Fair. But Jesus Christ, make another character. There's 70 characters in Mortal Kombat, for God's sakes. Yeah. Just give us the backstory. There was a cartoon that came out not long ago, Scorpion's Revenge, that I liked. Came out a year or so ago, and that was rated R. I like that even more, though. If you haven't seen that, check that out. But it's a cartoon, so I know that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but just saying, that's I thought that was actually better. But I did like the movie. It was fair.
CGI was good. That's a good shout.
The CGI was good. I think they tried to pack a lot into just a 90-minute movie because it was only like 90 minutes. Didn't seem like it was much longer than 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And, that compression, of course, creates issues with a lot of the characters. A lot of the characters just seem to not have much to do. They were just there because they were recognizable characters, and then that's it. So some of the characters suffered because of that. Some of the dialogue was very clunky. Some of the acting was a little wooden. There's some script issues, but I thought it looked great. I thought the fight sequences were really good. The casting of I forget the actor's name, Scorpion of Hanzo, was brilliant casting. Brilliant casting. Every time I see Jax, I think Steve Harvey, though. I couldn't take Jax serious. I kept thinking it's Steve Harvey, but it's like a young Steve Harvey. Overall, I really enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun, and I'm ready for the sequel. I'm ready for part 2, and I'm sure that there's going to be a part 2 because it's already made over $51 million worldwide.
Yeah.
The sequel's been greenlit, so we're going.
The only thing, Piz, and I hate to compare with the original, I liked Shang Tsung. I liked his black eyes and everything, but the Shang Tsung in the 96 movie, he was so perfect. I couldn't help myself but say, damn it, I loved Shang Tsung in the first movie. That's the only character that I was just like, because Kano, I loved him. I'm with you. I rewatched it again, and I thought he was great. But no Johnny Cage. We got Jax. I like Jax. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he sucked on the game. You never wanted to play with Jax. But no Johnny Cage? What the hell?
They're making you wait for part 2 for Johnny.
That's fine.
You wait for part 2 for Johnny.
Well, they had 30 years of Mortal Kombat lore to pull from, and it kind of seems like a patchwork quilt of things that don't quite fit together, but they forced them together.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still good. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been Annihilation Part 2.
Oh God!
It could have. But Kano definitely.
You just might get your wish in a year or so.
And Reptile was much better in this one than he was in Annihilation.
That's true.
God! Reptile was in the first 2 PG-13 ones, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He was a lizard in the original one.
It was a horrible CGI cartoon.
Yeah, that's right.
But I enjoyed it. Kano kind of stole the show. He had all the best dialogue. That actor was definitely just having a really fun time playing Kano. And
what was that? His counterpart that had the Iron Cabal. He was great too. I mean, they really captured his moves, and there was a lot of cool signature stuff. I loved how they had the part with Liu Kang was doing the leg sweeps. And it's like, dude, is that all you can do? Now, how many times you played Mortal Kombat against somebody and all they did was leg sweep you?
That's what you know they can play. Did he do the bicycle kick?
Yeah, he did the bicycle kick.
Yes!
Can we agree? Can we agree Kung Lao had the nastiest and best kill in that movie when he put his hat down and it was spinning?
He had a good fatality.
Straight out of the game, Scorpion did pulled his mask off, and then face turns to a skull and breathes fire. I mean, they really did pay a lot of attention to the things that they figured were important, and they get mostly 75% right. Hey, that's a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. There you go.
Amen.
There you go. So Mortal Kombat gets, I think it gets our stamp of approval, even though it doesn't need it. It's made $51 million worldwide. So, yeah.
Money is nothing. It needs the
Well,
region-free stamp.
There you go.
That's right.
It's certified free. Well, no, that's not. It's certified region unlocked. It's certified region unlocked. So let's dive into some topics tonight. Lauren, what do you got for us tonight, man?
Well, Piz, you know, the success of a good essay or even a short story or a good video on YouTube really is to take two very different components and use them to just compare and contrast against each other. Make kind of a point using two very different subjects. I went to go see Ben Wheatley's In the Earth last week in theaters. I make a point to try and see everything that comes out in the genre theatrically that I can, that is at all feasible. So if I have to drive an hour, that's not a problem. An hour and a half, well, I got to be really interested. I didn't have to go that far for In the Earth, but maybe I should have made a different decision. So do you remember when you saw The Witch for the first time, or Hereditary, or Lighthouse, or Midsummer, whichever A24 film was the first one you saw? And you remember realizing, well, something happened there, something big, something important. Probably these films, those four films together, form kind of the basis of probably the most positive movement in horror since the early 80s. I mean, I can't overstate what that field looked like at that moment. Some people called it elevated horror. Some people called it intelligent horror. I just think that it was following the tradition of many, many great films that came before it that treated the horror genre and the horror fan with its proper amount of respect, suggesting that we don't only want the dumb fun, but we also want occasionally something that is really moving and powerful and meaningful. So when I saw the trailer for In the Earth, I felt strongly that this film was going to be of that kind. And god damn it, it does really try to be it. Unfortunately, it's pretentious and overlong and jumbled and has nothing real to say. And it started me thinking about the dangers of the genre's past and how sometimes when something is a big breakaway hit, or at least really well respected, it starts an onslaught of similar-minded projects of varying quality that can have very, very, very negative effects to the genre long term. And yes, one film, In the Earth, is not going to immediately invalidate the strides made by A24 or Hammer with The Lodge, for instance. But certainly it's a warning sign that I think we should be aware of. It's not difficult to find videos online that are just completely negative, whether YouTube or another platform. You can find just the mean-spirited, nasty missives out to the masses because they'll get hits, right? And it's not hard to look under those same videos and find just as much bitter comments from the regular fan. That doesn't help community. That makes us weaker. And a film like In the Earth is not going to be divisive in a way that is positive for the community either, because I think certain people are going to feel that they have to support it simply because it is smart. Never mind that it doesn't come together, or that it relies on flashing lights and intentionally vague dialogue to kind of pave over some really bad scripting. When we attack each other in the community, we make the whole community weaker because we're less trustful of each other's opinions. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of reasons that people do it. And I think they're all born out of kind of self-consciousness and hurt in our own paths. We have to get out of that. We have to get away from that. Now, in the movie In the Earth, the mad scientist, slight spoilers for you guys, but believe me, it's not a big deal. The movie doesn't know what to do with this concept. It has plenty of great concepts, doesn't know what to do with any of them. But a key concept is that the mad scientist believes that all the plants everywhere in the world are interconnected, that they form a sort of nexus, a hive mind that will protect its community, that will go out of its way to play its part every day for the good of the entire plant sphere. It's kind of a cool concept for a horror film, and there's elements of it that you're going to think are really great. But the movie doesn't know what to do with it. Recently, I went through an illness, a medical scare that was pretty serious and traumatic and didn't help my mental state any. And I'm not alone. Jonathan from Boombastic Reviews, a great friend of the show, and I think a friend of all of ours, went through something far scarier than mine, frankly. Although I'm not taking anything away from genital mutilation necessarily. I think it was a great testament to our community in particular, not the larger horror community necessarily, but our community in particular, that both of us were able to be very open and honest about it, and without fearing that the trolls would come out to play with our emotions and our minds, just like the plants are supposed to in the earth. Unfortunately, again, in the earth, they didn't know what to do with that, but I think we do know what to do with that sense of community, and that's to grow it. So I want to take this opportunity to say, don't go see In the Earth, but everyone, please continue to be good to each other out there. Reach out to those that you know are hurting or in need. A simple message or an email or a tweet that's kind-hearted and really reaches out to someone when they need it the most can mean the world. So be better than In the Earth, and hopefully Ben Wheatley makes a better movie next time.
But what if these people really loved In the Earth?
Then they're horrifically wrong, but I love them for it.
You're accepting at least. So, I mean, that's good.
I love unpopular opinions. I don't exist without unpopular opinions. So
I agree with you on the point of, and I'm sure, Christian, you've seen this on your channel. Monty, Susan, all you guys have probably seen this on your channel. When you review a movie and you give it a negative review, some people take a negative review as like a personal attack on them. I remember I had one guy long ago literally threatened me physically because this wasn't a comment on the YouTube channel. This was a direct message to me on Facebook, I think. And basically it was like, basically he said, I didn't like them. I haven't seen the movie, but someone who I have a lot of respect for on YouTube said they liked it. You saying you disliked it is an attack on them, and I take that very personally. And they literally were threatened. They threatened me. They later apologized, but at that point, that
well, but you see, stones come a long way.
Yeah, man.
Piz, I gotta say, this is getting to be a problem. I don't really understand why this is. There are a number of people that I've encountered that take it personally if you don't agree on a movie. They'll stop talking to you. They'll stop befriending you. I don't get it. Me and Lauren, if that's the case, like me and Lauren would have stopped being friends this is the first day we met.
It would have been like being Jimbo. We would have both gone in different directions pointed by the bottles. Absolutely.
But if you find yourself having an issue with somebody because you don't agree about an opinion on a movie, you have to stop and reevaluate your priorities. Please, please, I'm begging you. I mean, because they're still human beings, for God's sakes. Like, it's just movies. It's just movies. I don't understand it. The dialogue and the conversations is what's fun anyway. It's not, if we all agreed on everything in this, how freaking boring would that be? Mm-hmm. How lame would it be if we all loved, a movie and then we just gushed over it for 20 minutes? I'd be like, God, this is like, somebody just say it sucks just so we can start something, please. But we're human beings, for God's sakes. There's so much more to life. But to legitimately take it that offensive, you have to stop and reevaluate. I'm begging you. Life is way too short, please. And it's a problem. I see it all the time. Do not join a Halloween Facebook group. Whatever you do.
I don't. I know.
Don't do it. Or if you do, just snipe. Like I do. I love to watch drama. I always tell my wife, I love drama as long as I'm not involved in it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
My cities can't wait to say, Christian, go look at their Facebook now before they delete it. Look what they just posted about their ex-wife. I'm like, okay, let me read it. Screenshot it. I love it. I eat it up. I just don't like being a part of it. But some people, man, I swear to God, you have to reevaluate your priorities. So don't take it personally, for God's sakes. I'm done.
I had an interesting moment. I guess I'll share my horror story too. I had an interesting moment on my channel. I think it was 3 years ago or something. I reviewed the Tupac movie Juice from the early 90s. And I made a comment about the character Tupac played, not him, the character. And even if I did make a comment about Tupac, that should be what it is. But I made a comment about the character, and some guy from New York left like this long diatribe on my page about how I'm not really from the streets and I don't really know about this and that. And I was just like, yeah, was that one of you guys? Wait, was it Lord?
I'm not from New York.
No, it wasn't. No, that's Jersey. No, Jersey.
It was Stone.
Jersey is elevated
Stone.
New York.
But it was
Monty,
Stone.
what are you talking about, Monty?
That was you, Christian. That was. No, I'm really hurt
wasn't
that you
me.
guys did that to me. You played that trick on me. But no, I'm serious with the guy with him, the long diatribe, and I'm not really from the streets, and I don't know this, and I should take the character more seriously. I was like, Jesus, really? A character from a film, and you talk about me as a human being and how I, for God's sakes, maybe I shouldn't review the damn thing. I was like, God.
Take the character more seriously.
I told him, thank you very much for your advice. It's much appreciated.
That's the biggest kick in the face to him. That's Piz is the master at this. Okay, Piz is the master at this. Piz, do you mind me? Piz did a great review on a movie. I loved it. You know, I sometimes don't even watch the movie Piz reviews. I just love the reviews, right? And some guy said, "This is a waste of time. You're much better than reviewing this movie. This is pathetic." And Piz goes, "I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the Blu-ray. I enjoyed reviewing the movie." And that was his I'm like, what a pro. What a pro.
Yeah, the best
this
thing
guy
you can do is, the absolute best thing you can do is just say, like, thank you for your support, period. What are they going to do with that?
That wasn't your review for Halloween New Moon, was it?
No, that was gosh, what was it?
Fear.
Oh, the fear.
The fear.
Oh,
so great.
I will say,
Okay, hey, Piz. He's pissed at you for reviewing it, but the dumb son of a gun watched the review of you talking about
Exactly, right?
Bro, I'm calling you out, bro. I don't know who you are, but come on.
Yeah, like, thank you for the view. Thank you for the engagement.
I mean, seriously, you gotta. I'm telling YouTube needs to institute a policy. When you hit send on your comment, a flash needs to come up and say, "Please reread this to make sure you don't sound like a dumbass." And then if you hit OK, then your comment goes through.
That's not a bad idea, really. Yeah, like, you know, do you want to reconsider this comment?
should be like
that's
should be like when you get pulled over on the highway. Before, you know, do you know why we're stopping this comment for a second?
Yeah.
How many drinks did you have? I will say about in the earth, there is some everything to do with mangled feet is great in the film. So it's not all bad, but the mangled feet are the only good parts of the film.
Quentin Tarantino should love it.
We don't need to listen. We talked for 45 minutes about feet the last episode.
Oh.
We don't need to.
I just really briefly, I do have something else. Just this is a slipcover for House of the Cemetery, one of my absolute favorite films.
What?
Mm.
Wait, why?
Support the physical
You were
media.
supposed to say, tear it.
Tear it.
Come on.
Support the physical media, not the packaging, people. That's how we win.
Yeah.
That wasn't the lenticular slipcase, though. So it had no value. It had no value.
Lauren, you can do that to any slipcover you like, but it will not make me, Piz, and Christian destroy our slipcovers for mass
Alright.
True, but I
I'm not asking
I will antagonize other people to do it though. I'm not above that.
Because you like drama as long as you're not in it. Tear that
Look at
slip
Susan.
cover.
She done
I
figured
see
me out.
drinks.
He'd rather create the drama than be a part of it. That's like a guy I went to high school
I got
with.
you.
He made the best paper balls. He would wad them up so nice and tight. And then he'd go, "Here, throw that at Brian." And I'd go, "Okay." And so he would make me good, yeah, and then tell me who to throw them at, and I'd throw them. So
I feel like Brian wasn't an
That's me.
arbitrary name you picked.
no, he was not an arbitrary name I picked.
Yeah, that was serious some bullying going on there. I support that. I strongly support that.
Brian was another friend, and I would do it to Brian because Brian would turn around and throw it back at my buddy Corey, not at me. So
You're just the messenger.
yeah, I was the messenger of the spitball. Yeah. But very, very, very interesting topic, and I think very well stated.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to follow that up and talk about something that seems to have been a hot topic on social media as of late, and that is gatekeeping in the horror community. And even though it's been a hot topic, I don't recall really seeing a whole lot of gatekeeping personally. Although I do see, and this could be considered gatekeeping, is a lot of the bourgeoisie horror folks on social media kind of looking down their nose at the common horror fan, because they've ascended to some sort of status, and everyone else is kind of beneath them. That's kind of gatekeeping a little bit, I think. But what really bothers me about gatekeeping, especially in the horror movie community, is that it's people who have been gatekept against most of their lives as horror fans or as genre fans. They're now gatekeeping. Because I think most people who are horror fans are already kind of outsiders, or have either been or have been made to feel like an outsider because they love horror. And being a horror fan, you typically wear a lot of black, maybe some black horror shirts, and you know you're looked at differently if you wear a shirt with a decapitated head on it. Why? If you walk in, I mean, who cares? It's I'm making a statement. But it frustrates me to see, particularly, like I said, the bourgeoisie horror. Now, I don't know if you can say they're horror fans. They're horror journalists, and they're actual horror movie producers that kind of look down their. It seems like they look down their noses, and a lot of horror fans who are not on their level, and that's in a way kind of gatekeeping, I think. But what bothers me more is that you've been gatekept against. Why gatekeep now? This should be a community of all different colors and creeds and sizes, and But anyway, I wanted to have any of you felt gatekept against or been privy to gatekeeping? Susan, have you ever felt gatekept against simply by
Yes.
virtue of the fact that you're a female?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's always, if I try to bring some humor or lightness to a thing, it's, oh, she's an airhead. It's like, no, why don't you check my IQ test? Then we'll talk. But, there's always this thing about, oh, well, if you're a female and you're okay with the B movies and the, horror comedies and whatever, you must be an idiot. You can't enjoy more intellectual horror or whatever. It's like, no, just because that's what I like for stress relief and to just have some fun, it doesn't say anything about my overall appreciation of horror as a genre, or that I can't have an intelligent conversation with someone about another type of horror movie. I think there's also in gatekeeping, it's like, okay, you have Halloween here, and you like Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy and Jason, so therefore you never watch independent horror. You don't like independent horror. You don't have an appreciation. Bitch, this was independent horror originally. But whatever. I digress. There's a lot of just micromanaged gatekeeping even, and I'm like, excuse me, just because you were bullied doesn't mean you need to become a bully. That's not cool in any way, shape, or form. And just because someone looks or acts a certain way, there are some pockets of our community that would have a problem with the fact that I'm just wearing like a black floral shirt today instead of my entire wardrobe of fright rag shirts. Like, that's all I ever wear, right? And they'll judge on that. It's becoming so... I don't know, for me, what I'm witnessing, whether it's something that I'm directly experiencing, but people know that I just kind of have an IDGAF attitude. So I'm not maybe as much of a target but when I see it happen to other people, it makes me just as angry, maybe even more than when it happens to me, because I'm just like, yeah, there's the door. Bye. Why are you here? Don't look at my stuff. Don't comment. Don't come to my, like, bye. But other people, you know, they get really, really upset. And I mean, there are still things that people can say and do, or just by virtue of not including someone, they're sending a message. So yeah, I do feel like, especially with like we were talking about different types of horror, I feel like there's a lot of gatekeeping with that too. Like if you like the 80s stuff, then you can't like or appreciate or have a conversation with me about anything that came out yesterday and that's, you know, intellectual horror. That makes me boil. But you know what? It's fine. I don't need to talk to them. That's fine. If that's how small-minded you are, I don't need to talk to you. I mean, I've also witnessed gatekeeping as far as race in the community, as far as religion in the community. I don't want to hear about it. You know, if I like horror now, I have to be a Satanist and a racist and all this kind of stuff, which neither. Things like that. There's just, you can take it into different things, but it's getting heavier. I've noticed within the last like 4 or 5 years, and I don't like that. So I try to just kind of stay in my own lane and just mind my own business and everything. But it's hard when you see stuff happening, you know, to other people, because like you were saying, Piz, a lot of us, I was bullied, like seriously bullied. And I would never turn around and bully someone else. As a matter of fact, I'd try to make sure they're more accepted and brought into the fold, and that they're comfortable and that they understand that this community is not a place for that kind of behavior. But it's really strange to see how everything is unfolding. And also at the same time as everyone is trying to be more cognizant and aware of what everyone else is going through and how they are in their lives, and just to be accepting, it's really strange that this seems to be kind of amping up in my perception. It's been amping up while supposedly the opposite is supposed to be happening. It's just kind of sad.
Anybody else ever felt gatekept against or witnessed gatekeeping in the community?
I think it's just an extension of the whole high school clique attitude. It exists in every community on YouTube, everywhere. You always have those people that identify themselves as the cool kids, and then everybody else that doesn't, you know, bow to them is, you know, they try to eject them from their little clique. You know, people only have power over you if you give them the power. I was an outcast in high school because I didn't play the game. I didn't care. There was nothing cool about the cool kids to me. And it's true that sometimes people that are bullied grow up to be bullies. Well, that's just because they're mentally and emotionally unhealthy. The people that are healthy understand what it feels like to be bullied. And like Susan said, you know, they try to help people that are being bullied, and they'll stand up for those people. You know, safety in numbers, right? If you see a big bully picking on a kid, well, now there's 2 kids against a big bully. And my favorite thing to do in school was find a bully that was my bully. I would find his bully and make friends with him. You know, and then use that against my bully. You know, I had fun with it. Yeah, I didn't care, because people can say whatever they want to say, and I just don't care. I don't understand this. You know, this person's supposedly better than that person because they like this, and how dare you like that? It's in the music community. It's everywhere. Like even in school, even when I get out of school, I like thrash metal and I liked hair metal. Right? My thrash metal friends would make fun of me for liking hair metal, and my hair metal friends would make fun of me for liking thrash metal. And I didn't give a shit because I like both. I was like, I'm not going to stop listening to something I like just because you don't like it. You don't like it, you don't listen to it, I'll listen to it. And so that's always been kind of my attitude about it. And as far as gatekeeping goes and just making stupid comments on videos, I watch a lot of guitar related stuff, and there'll be like a review of a Schecter guitar, and somebody will go on the review and they'll put, I hate Schecter guitars. No, I don't respond to that person. I'm thinking, then why'd you watch the video?
Exactly. Like, why are you here? There's the door.
You just came here because you're that pathetic that you needed to let everybody know that you hated the product that's being displayed, being demonstrated. Really? I mean, you are a very sad individual, and I feel sorry for you.
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Monty.
I noticed that with like I remember around the time like when we had the big remake surge, like in particular the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which really made me think of this. And I remember how much I hated that film and still hate that film. I think it's trash. I really think it's garbage. And I remember, but then again, I'm 40 years old too, so I grew up in a different era of these kids now. But anyway, I remember seeing this kid on YouTube who did a review of it, and he said how the original Nightmare on Elm Street was. He basically, gist of it was, he said it was garbage, it was corny, blah blah blah. His commentary pissed me off, but I didn't jump on this thing and say, "Oh, you suck," blah blah blah. And he said he really liked the new one, and he said it was a better movie. Whatever. But when I really processed it and thought about it later, because my first opinion was, you suck, you have no idea what you're talking about, you need to go watch, I don't know, you need to go watch Nightmare on Elm Street 2, or you need to go watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, The Funhouse, blah 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 blah. I'm going through all these movies, and then I thought to myself, like, I'm whatever I was at the time when that movie came out, and this guy is, I don't know, born in 1995 or 96 or whatever. He has no reference point to my experience. So I really did think to myself, who am I to say that this kid is wrong? I didn't say he was wrong. I was mentally feeling, in my opinion, he was, but I didn't. But I just kind of felt like, the kid likes this stuff. He's supporting it, whether I think it's trash or not. So who am I to jump on the guy, and say that he's wrong? I don't agree, but again, it just goes back to the point that just, it brings the community down, and it doesn't keep it going, and it kind of gives other people excuses who hate the horror genre so much. Like, that's why we got so much stuff on Netflix right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Instead of stuff coming out in the theater like it did back in the day. There's no support for each other. So yeah, I think I've been in that position myself, towards other people.
Yeah, every time somebody gives Rob Zombie's Halloween a positive review, I have to choke back my response and say, like what you like, man. It's all good. I disagree, but like you said, there are kids that were born. I have to think about perspective. Yeah. How old I was when I saw the first Halloween and how it affected me. Well, to them, that's their Halloween. So even though I may not like the films, it's okay if other people do. It's all good.
Right.
Well, and what kills me is when people say that you shouldn't attach any sentimental value to it, but it's okay if they attach sentimental value to theirs because it's newer. Oh, okay. All right. Bye. Right.
I think there's danger, of course, because after having just gone through and talked about how wonderful our community has been when I needed it to be, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not seeing gatekeeping and cruel comments. I think there is a danger, though, in overstating this case, because the internet is basically a city. That means there's some great art galleries you can go to. There's some arcades, lots of great places that you can have a lot of good fun, but it's not a safe place. And it's never going to be a safe place unless they make it not anything any of us ever want to visit. If they want to make it into post-Giuliani, Times Square, Disneyland, none of us will be showing up. So the danger is that there's going to be the rubbing of shoulders at some times. And we need to be quick not to judge the other people doing the rubbing of the shoulders and ascribing motive to their actions, because that leads to a world whereas we can't have differences of opinion either because we're so afraid of offending each other. So I think the best policy is be honest and be brave with your comments, but just try to be respectful whenever you can, or at least have a goddamn sense of humor. Because listen, I'm a guy who will champion Jason X all day and will trash aliens all day. Okay. I know how to raise some blood pressure when I want. But hopefully at the end of the day, after the conversation that people have with me, they come away going, well, I don't agree with Lauren any more than I did before, but that was kind of a fun conversation. That's my goal always, is that it be productive, at least in the conversation. And we need more of that. I don't think the answer is less conversation. I think it's more conversation. So do not ostracize people who portray themselves as a bully at their worst moment, because you're just creating more problem.
And really this could be just a trickle down effect from society as a whole with all the tribalism that's been going on in the past 4 or 5 years. And hopefully we're coming out of that now, and maybe we can heal a little bit and learn how to have an actual conversation about things, even if we don't agree. We've lost that ability in our modern society, and I think we see this gatekeeping as kind of a trickle down effect of what the larger problem is that we forgot how to just have a conversation without being offended by everything.
Yeah. Well, let's move along here. And Stone, I believe you've got a Blu-ray review for us this week. What have you got, buddy?
I do. All right. Well, a lot of us here are fans of Jaws. I mean, Jaws is one of the quintessential 70s films, one of the quintessential horrors, one of the classics. Jaws was written, the novel was written by a man named Peter Benchley. And Peter Benchley wrote a few other novels after Jaws had become this runaway hit that he never would have imagined, because he was about to quit writing. As a matter of fact, when Jaws became this runaway success and Universal bought it and it became the movie. His second book was called The Deep, which is a bit different than Jaws, although it's we spend a lot of time out on the water for this one, a lot of deep sea diving in this book. And 2 years after Jaws, we got a movie version of The Deep released by Columbia Pictures, starring Robert Shaw of Jaws, who played Quint, Nick Nolte in his very first movie, and Jacqueline Bisset, who became famous from this movie because of the marketing, because pretty much the first 10 minutes she's wearing a white t-shirt where you can basically transparently see her breasts. And the studio took advantage of that and put it on the poster. These posters are real. And she's Peter Guber, who produced the movie, he later did Batman. He said, I became rich off of that shirt. Exactly. So what is The Deep about? Okay, well, The Deep is about this couple honeymooning in Bermuda. And they decide to do a deep sea dive, and they find a sunken World War II ship. And what do you know? This World War II ship have a buried treasure. And they look, and they don't really discover any treasure, but they discover an ampoule, AMPOULE, or a sealed glass capsule containing a liquid, which contains morphine, of all things. And so they decided to take it back on shore. They have no idea what it is. So, but somebody, when they go into a restaurant and somebody sees it, they're like, "Hey, where did you get that?" Already trouble starting to brew in Bermuda. Well, they go see a salty, man of the sea, played by Robert Shaw, who is wonderful again, by the way, and explains to him, "Oh, okay, this Haitian drug dealer on the island wants all these ampoules of morphine, so he can obviously sell them and everything." In the book, Benchley actually describes this guy as like the Islanders consider him like a new reincarnation of Che Guevara, this drug dealer that just controls Bermuda. But so they hook up with Robert Shaw, and they decide to try to go down there and get the treasure, despite the fact that this drug cartel wants these ampoules. And there's a lot of voodoo. Jacqueline Bisset gets attacked several times by this guy and his group. Louis Gossett Jr. plays the Haitian drug dealer, who later won an Oscar for An Officer and a Gentleman. And I never saw The Deep before. I mean, I've seen Jaws many times, and I can imagine in 1977, this got a $10 million budget, made $100 million, so it was a hit. It was a supreme hit, largely banking on Peter Benchley's name and Jaws. In fact, the poster itself, as you can see on this Blu-ray, has a striking similarity to the theatrical poster of Jaws. A very striking similarity, as we see Jacqueline Bisset rising under the up to the surface. So, and this came out like a year before Jaws 2. So the Deep, people went to go see the Deep based on the eventually Jaws name. I can imagine a lot of them were somewhat disappointed because there's not a lot of excitement in this movie. I enjoyed the movie mostly because of my naval experience. But at the same time, I can see a lot of people finding this a challenge to sit through, even though the underwater sequences are tremendous highlights. This was the very first movie filmed underwater using Dolby Stereo and Dolby Stereo. So, the highlights are really the underwater sequence, and they are as gorgeous as they can be. A lot of ocean creatures. The treasure is being guarded by this deadly eel, which actually has a really good jump. And there are sharks in the movie. In fact, in the 30-minute mark, some guys, including Eli Wallach, are actually raising a dead shark from the ocean. Pretty much a callback to Jaws in every respect. But I had never seen it before. I mean, if I had seen it on television, I probably would have been a smartass and said, well, all I remember about it was very blue. So I don't remember seeing it. And when I finally sat down to watch it, I was thinking, okay, you know what? This is a nice little adventure story. It's got lovely photography. The, Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset are perfectly capable actors. Nolte is very impressive in his film debut, even though they did a lot of better stuff later. But this is really a showcase for Robert Shaw. If you're a Robert Shaw fan, this Blu-ray from Imprint and Via Vision is worth picking up because there's 3 primary extras on this brand new Blu-ray. There is a commentary by actor, writer, and director Ileana Douglas, who has worked with Nick Nolte several times. In fact, how I discovered her, she was in a movie called Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon, played his sister-in-law. And she gives a wonderful commentary. She knows a lot about the production. She did a tremendous amount of research. She read Nick Nolte's book. She read many other books that she quotes from. And Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset, even though they initially did not get along at first, they basically had an affair throughout the shoot, and it really shows the chemistry that they have, which is kind of cool. And also, but I mean, for Robert Shaw alone, this movie is worth it and worth buying because he also hosts a 48-minute vintage documentary from 1977 that premiered on CBS. And basically, he opens up with the fact that none of us, every single cast and crew member had never dived before, and they shot underwater for 6 months. They had never ever dived before in their lives, and they shot everything underwater. The one small exception was that Robert Shaw was evidently a very heavy drinker at this time, and sadly, he would only be alive for another year. He made 2 other movies and died of a heart attack, just a sudden heart attack. But he was a heavy drinker, and apparently there were some crew members that were in charge of hiding the alcohol, and he would always seem to find it for some reason. I mean, they just were never able to hide the alcohol fully from him, unfortunately, and all that. So when he is underwater, they only shot him when they needed close-ups. Otherwise, Robert Shaw has a stunt diver for pretty much most of the movie, and there were other stunt divers in the opening sequence alone. There is a scene where Jacqueline Bisset's stunt diver gets caught underneath. Her wrist is on a net of some sort, and they were supposed to jerk her arm, but evidently the stunt person ended up jerking too hard, pulled her shoulder. That's a testament to what stunt people have to do, especially in the movies, and that's all in the film. That is all in the film. And there's a third primary extra on this Blu-ray, in addition to the vintage documentary and the commentary, and that is select scenes from the 3-hour television cut that premiered in 1980. They had put 53 minutes of footage back into the deep and expanded it to this 3-hour movie. There's a whole opening sequence of the ship being sunk, which is called the Goliath. And Peter Benchley actually has a cameo in that sequence. And look, I know that the crew members spent so much time and you know, the underwater sequences are wonderful. It looks like the ship was shot in a bathtub. I'm just being straight up honest with you, okay? And that's part of the reason why I think that somebody probably said, you know what, we don't need to put the whole 3-hour TV cut on this Blu-ray. Let's just put some select scenes in there. So there's about 15 minutes of 53 minutes that was put back in. 3 wonderful extras, and like I said, this came from Via Vision Entertainment and Imprint. They just put out their May bundle, which includes Scarface 1932 and the Mothman Prophecies, which I certainly intend to pick up. They've been putting out wonderful, wonderful Blu-rays over the past few months, including Breakdown and Fire in the Sky, which both got sold out. And
Fire in the Sky.
Those are 2 of my favorites. So for Robert Shaw alone, don't be disappointed if you're thinking you're going to get another Jaws, because I know, because I'm sure a lot of people felt that way at the time. But look, for Robert Shaw alone, this Blu-ray is worth picking up. I mean, he was a wonderful actor. I mean, the way he delivered dialogue. I mean, that Indianapolis speech alone is wonderful. But you got to remember, you know, from Russia with Love, that fight scene with 007, the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, The Sting, long distinguished career, performance after performance after performance, and up until Jaws. Robert Shaw alone is enough to warrant picking this up, even though I got it for the Ileana Douglas commentary, and she is wonderful. So if anybody would like to comment on the Deep real quick, I'd like to know what you think. But this is a great Blu-ray, and I definitely recommend it.
Stone, when I message you later and say, hey, man, where can I get that? If you tell me, well, it's sold out, but it's on eBay for $60, I'm going to be pissed. Via Vision can kiss my ass. They can kiss it. They make 1,000 of these movies. What's going on, Via Vision?
I don't know what's going on.
Every time.
I don't know. I admit I don't know. I don't know.
I think with Fire in the Sky and Breakdown, it was the fact that those movies, you know, those movies hadn't been on Blu-ray, so they got a good Blu-ray, and Blu-ray. People.
Hold up, are you talking about like Kurt Russell Breakdown?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend's in that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's why I was like, wait, Robert Shaw. Oh, okay. Because
you date Kurt Russell?
No.
Who's
Goldie's man?
Who's your boyfriend in
Goldie? No.
No. That's all I'll say. I shouldn't have said it. I'm like a super private person, but yeah. Oh,
it's
cool.
not Jack Noseworthy, is it?
What?
It's not Jack Noseworthy, is it?
No.
No, the one that wanted to get his trucker license. Never mind.
I'll tell you guys later.
Okay, that's pretty rad.
But seriously, has anybody here seen The Deep?
I know I've seen it, but I just don't really remember. I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe watching the underwater stuff. I remember that so vividly, but I don't remember like when. It's been a while. It's been at least 10 years.
It is a little slow.
A lot slow.
It's a little slow, but you know, anything. Oh gosh, what's his name? Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw. Yeah, his drinking is pretty legendary throughout his entire career.
Legendary.
Stone said he was drinking a lot at this time. I'm like, what, between his birth and his death?
Toast to Robert Shaw.
Yeah, toast to Robert Shaw for sure. Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss.
Robert Shaw.
Richard Dreyfuss has a lot of stories of Robert Shaw drinking to excess on Jaws and then making fun of him and then being able to just act like he was, you know, between action and cut, he was perfect. After cut and before action,
stumbling around.
He's like, hey, Dreyfuss, go get me another beer. You know,
I didn't think he was drunk for that long.
Oh yeah.
I think I saw that he tried to do a take from Jaws. Like I guess like the whole take where he's doing the monologue about what the shark can do, and he did it like totally like slouched, and then they came up and showed him the dailies, and he was like, "I guess I made a fool of myself."
Yeah. I've heard
He was a little
that,
tipsy, I think, when he did it.
Yeah.
As an
I'd be down to
Indianapolis
see it.
That man was never tipsy in his life.
Yeah. I would be down to see it, Stone, because of Robert Shaw, because I like him.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm just saying, yeah, that's really it. But of course I can't because Via Vision sucks. So
Oh.
like 1,000 of everything, and that's it.
But what
That's
I don't
how
wanna
they're able to.
pay a
That's how they're
million-
able. That's how they're able to license it to begin with. Is the
I
limited
don't
numbers.
have to like it though.
there's a Blu-ray of the Deep on eBay right now for $11.30.
Oh,
It's not
no.
it's not the Via Vision. It's some
Probably
bare bones.
Sony.
It's some bare bones release, but it's
Yeah.
$11.
It's the good
I
enough edition.
It's a good enough. Yeah.
There you go,
Good
Mike.
enough.
$11.
The budget edition,
$11.30 or
Yeah.
like $11.30.
$11.30. Yeah, not
Oh,
$11.30.
okay.
I remember when the Deep came out, and I remember the ad campaign on TV and radio. I think they got the same voiceover guy that did the Jaws trailers, and they tried really, really hard to link the two together. And they showed lots of scenes of the eel and the sharks and the underwater, and they really tried to make you think that you were going in for a Jaws adventure. So I could understand the disappointment. I saw the 3-hour TV cut on TV when it was shown. I don't remember much of it. I like the movie for what it is. I mean, the actors involved are all great. Lou Gossett Jr., Robert Shaw, they all do a great job. And,
They're all good.
it's good for what it is. I mean, I can completely understand how somebody would be disappointed by it, but I'd say definitely give it a watch, give it a chance. It's a good flick.
And I'd say instead of watching The Deep, read The Island, which is actually Benchley's masterpiece, the novel specifically, because they did adapt it badly. But
Michael Caine.
no, yeah, but the novel is amazing, and it's his best novel, and that's even above Jaws. So
Wow.
if you want to really enjoy yourself, I'd say that's the best entertainment choice you'll make. And I mentioned reading,
I
and
learned to
everyone
read
gets
that
real
one.
quiet.
So what you're saying is you should watch The Deep and not The Island, but read The Island and not The Deep?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's perfect, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the Jaws trailer. It's as if God created the devil and gave him Jaws.
Jaw.
I don't think I don't think the jaws
Jaw.
were really the problem. It was more the teeth.
Yeah, it's the teeth. That's what got you. That's what got
Yeah.
you.
Otherwise, it would be just like traumatic, like nudging in a lot of different directions, right?
Be a lot of pressing and shaking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the PSI, the pounds per square inch of the bite
Yeah.
itself would crush your bones. I mean, you could wear chainmail, but you're still going to get pulverized bones out of it.
Mike, I think I'd take that over the serrated teeth, though.
You have a better chance of surviving due to lack of blood loss. That is true.
Well, internal bleeding maybe would take over.
Internal
it takes,
bleeding.
It takes a lot longer.
Could you
Got a good ring
imagine
to it.
where Robert Shaw gets eaten by a Jaws and there's no teeth and he's just
gumming
going
it. He's just gumming it.
Robert Shaw's
Gums.
going. Yeah, exactly.
He's coming the hell out of me.
That would have if the shark was British, that would have happened.
Dreyfus, pull me out of here, you bum! He's gumming me to death. Anyway, another great in-depth review there. So thank you very much,
Thank you.
Susan. What did you got
Yes.
for us?
Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. Anybody who has known me more than like 5 seconds knows that my massive love for Vincent Price is still real and in full effect. So I had to go ahead and talk about the Monster Club, which I don't know if any of you guys.
I love that movie.
Okay, I'm so glad because I love it. It's, it's kind of one of those things where, it's not the greatest movie you're ever going to see. I understand that, but it's on brand for me. It's Vincent Price and it's 80s, barely. It's 1980. But this is talking about horror anthologies. Like I always want to mention this, and a lot of people don't know. A lot of people haven't seen it. Yes, it's so hard. Look, I'm reversed on the thing. It's so hard to find it on Blu-ray or even DVD, VHS. I mean, crazy money. Elvira hosted it in the 80s, and that VHS like was the only way to get it for a while, and then finally they got smart and started doing DVD and Blu-ray with it. But it's a horror anthology. It's 1980. It's very, I feel, I don't know what you guys think, but I feel it's more 70s in the aesthetic and just the way that it was done, but then it has some 80s music infused in it. It's just kind of crazy. Like, honestly, if you can't just find something to enjoy in this, I have to question you. So the director, I have to read his name.
Roy Ward
wrote it down.
Baker.
Yes, thank you. Roy Ward Baker. And this was his last movie, actually. And I feel like it's kind of a love letter to like the horror greats before horror kind of became more of a broad spectrum accepted genre. So, you know, the people who are in it, Christopher Lee was offered a role originally, and then he turned it down. And then John Carradine, who was like in The Howling and a lot of other things, he took that role. And he plays the author, R. Chetwynd Hayes, who the stories in this anthology are based off of, but he plays that author in the movie, Go With Me Here, even though the author apparently wasn't a big fan of the movie. And he comes across Vincent Price, who is Aramis, who he is a vampire. And he is his biggest fan, but he unknowingly kind of grabs him and bites him, just not enough to turn him into a vampire, but enough to sustain. So he wants to make it up to him by taking him to his favorite local hotspot, which is actually the Monster Club, where all the local different monsters congregate. It's like a private kind of club, secret society, whatever you want to call it. And so then we have the interludes of crazy 80s music in between each story. There are 3 stories besides the wraparound, which is the Monster Club itself, which is basically Vincent Price telling ghost stories to John Carradine, which is kind of epic and exciting. Apparently when this opened, it actually, where and when it was released, it couldn't get a broad theatrical release in the US, but it was on Vincent Price's 70th birthday, which is super exciting to me as a Vincent Price fan. But anyway, I digress. I mean, Donald Pleasance is in this, and you know, Donald Pleasance. So, you know, there's like my 2 faves. So it's great to see as far as that time period and to kind of go back to it, because it has this 80s music, but the actual stories are filmed in more of a, to me, and more, like I said, more of like a 70s or even maybe almost 60s vibe for one of them. So it's, and there are some other horror greats from back in the day that are in this as well. Those are just like 2 of mine. But the 3 different stories kind of, well, first, the beauty part is some of the, I had to write down a couple of the quotes. Vincent Price at one point says, where is it? He says, oh, no, I'm sorry. Well, what he says, I'll come to. But in one of the, and there are just a lot of good little quips, little quotes. Like Donald Pleasance in the one story says, why were those limbs of Satan bothering you? I mean, limbs of Satan. I don't know. There's just some funny little things in it that are kind of amusing. But the 3 stories, basically, we start with Vincent Price talking to John Carradine about the Monster Club itself. We have, it's a nightclub with a ton of people in terrible plastic masks, like straight out of, I don't know, 60s, 70s, early, 1980, whatever, pre-1980, just very obviously people in masks that were like $50 an hour extras or whatever, but they're all supposed to be real monsters, and you have to go there with your mind, and I appreciate that. But he's telling the story, and there's this entire like tree of life chart of monsters and their origins, and if they crossbred, what that monster combination was called, and what is this monster combination called. And that's where these stories come from. So he's talking to him, and he's talking to him about these monsters. So the first one is, I always say it wrong, that's why I wrote it down, Shadmock Story. Shadmock Story is the first in the anthology. And this poor guy, his power is whistling to kill people in a horrific way. So you just don't want him to whistle. And he's kind of got Phantom of the Opera makeup, kind of, they're kind of doing that kind of homage to that. And he lives in this mansion, obviously has a lot of money, and there's this couple, and they're kind of hustlers, and they decide that she's going to try to get a job there so she can find the combination to the safe and rob him. And then he asks her to marry him. So it becomes an entire separate story. It's very, to me, that one feels kind of 60s-esque. Like, I don't know why I get like Rosemary's Baby kind of vibes from the way that was filmed, or maybe even Dark Shadows. But the actual stories are pretty interesting. I don't know if it matters if I tell spoilers since it's a movie from 1980, but that one was pretty interesting. Has kind of a cool, creepy ending. I mean, this movie as a whole is not it's not a horror movie in the fact that it's going to scare you or anything like that. But it's just one of those that you're just going to kind of enjoy. It's a great movie to like have on in the background. It's classic. The people in it are classic. But my favorite out of the three, besides the wraparound, is Vampire Story, which is the second. That one, Donald Pleasance. It starts with the comment that I was trying to remember earlier. Vincent Price talks about directors to John Carradine, and he says something, and the guy comes out and he says, he's a vampire? And then Vincent Price is like, aren't all directors? Aren't they all? It was so funny. I don't know. There's a lot of little comments like that throughout it that are just amusing if you're a movie fan, a horror fan in general, and that sort of thing. But Vampire Story basically then tells the story of that director's childhood, because he was a vampire and not knowing that his father was a vampire and all of that. So Donald Pleasance pretends to be a clergyman so that he can approach the little boy and find out where his dad lives, because he's a vampire killer. And it's just, you can tell that Donald Pleasance is having like so much fun with this. I mean, this was after Halloween. And you can tell that he's just kind of like, okay, you know what? So this is the type of movies I'm doing. Let's do this. Let's have fun with it. And I love that. And so that's when he makes the limbs of Satan. He grabs the little boy's being bullied, and he says, why were those limbs of Satan bothering you? And I'm like, I'm going to use that somehow. But anyway, that story goes through basically Donald Pleasance trying to get to the little boy's father, who is a vampire. And it has a little plot twist at the end, which is cute. And I'm probably going to say her name wrong, but Britt Eklund, who was like a big time 60s heartthrob, she plays the mom of the little boy in that story. So that one was pretty interesting. And then the last one is called Humgoo Story. And that is in between when we're flashing back to awkward tight shots of a band member in purple lipstick singing crazy 80s music. Just really uncomfortably long tight shots on this guy's face. Then the third story is Humgoo, and that is about a ghoul mixed with a human, and the story, that story. And Patrick McGee, who plays the innkeeper, he's a director, and he's scouting for a location, and he wants to use this village. He drives through this mist. He sees this creepy village. He says he wants to use it, and everybody there kind of acts like zombies. And there's a girl who is a human and a ghoul, a Humgoo, and she tries to tell him how to escape, because they're going to eat him, because what they do is they dig up dead bodies and they eat them, and they use their clothing, and then they use their coffins for wood. It's very, you gotta suspended disbelief. But anyway, so that is kind of an interesting one. And there's a comment then when they wrap around to the Monster Club at the end, Vincent Price wants to induct the author because he's written so many amazing stories, because these stories he was trying to give him so that he could write about them because he's his biggest fan. And so when he's talking to him and he says, okay, here are these stories, he then says, we want to induct you into the Monster Club. And the others are like, wait, why though? And he says, because he's human. I mean, how can you have a Monster Club and not have a human? They've created weapons and bombs and all these things. And it's just so telling. And especially to watch this again in 2021, it's like, yeah, we're pretty monstrous. Like, we are the monsters, literally. Like, we can use it for good, we can use it for bad. And it's kind of got this little like cautionary tale just in his little monologue at the end. But this is all amongst everyone in these monster outfits partying and dancing to a live band, again with the crazy 80s music in between. I don't know, I just think it's kind of epic. Vincent Price, Donald Pleasance, 80s movies, vampires. It's the only movie that Vincent Price ever was a vampire in too, so that's kind of interesting through his career of lots of horror movies. But I just think it's fun. And again, like we were talking earlier, intellectual horror is great, but we are kind of living in a horror movie right now in a global pandemic. So why not have a little fun? And so I am a huge fan of this movie, and it is on Amazon Prime. So you don't have to like hunt all over the internet for it. It's on Amazon Prime right now as well. But the Blu-ray does have 2 different interviews from the 80s with Vincent Price, which are really cool, and definitely worth it. So
Cool.
that's it.
Very cool. Yeah. Any other fan? I know, Christian, you're a fan of the Monster Club. Anybody else?
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it before. Now, I mean, I got Amazon Prime. I want to order it now.
The poster is great. That's what sold me. The poster sold me so fast. I was like, oh, I got to see this. I've got to see this.
I gotta like throw up double horns for Roy Ward Baker, because this guy, everyone knew in classic Hollywood, people know him for A Night to Remember. I could give a shit, right? But directed Quatermass and The Pit, The Vampire Lovers, which is the first part of the Karnstein trilogy.
Yes.
Trilogy,
Scars of Dracula. And at the very end of his life, he kind of, in scare quotes, directed The Masks of Death, which was the last time that Peter Cushing played Sherlock Holmes. So, you know what? Royalty, period. Mm-hmm. Full stop.
Nico wants to know, are the Vincent Price interviews with David Del Valle?
Yes, they are. Yes.
There you go, Nico.
Yeah, I was afraid I wouldn't remember his name when I watched it. I'm like, yes, I do. I'm telling you, I can't quarantine. I can't remember anything. It's sad.
Which story do y'all like the most? The first one was my favorite. I love the first one. I love that mansion because it did feel very 60s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The first story was my favorite one, and I love the ending of it. So which one do y'all like the most?
I think it's a really consistent film. I think that unlike certain anthologies that it's easy to pick a favorite, say Baba's Black Sabbath, it's really easy to pick the last piece of that, right? Because it's just such a mind-blowing thing. I think that, I don't know, Monster Club is pretty consistent all the way through, and I think you have a good ride. I would actually agree with Susan. I think the wraparound is what I love the most. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I've added it to my watch list on Amazon Prime. So
yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if I've seen it or not, to be honest.
I don't remember either, so I'll have to give it a watch on Amazon.
I love it. I'm so glad you reviewed that.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was so questioning it. I was like, oh, I don't know. Is everybody gonna think I'm weird?
For the record, I just want to say, this is like a little Spanish release that I got on Amazon Prime. It is I think it's a Blu-ray R. It is, but I mean, it was like $17. So I mean, if you want to own it, you can get that, but just know it's a Blu-ray R. But it looked fine. But of course, it does not have those interviews like Susan's. Susan's got the legitimate.
Mine is actually like a U.S. region version and everything. But again, unfortunately, Christian, I did spend, I think, $30 on eBay for it. But I had to have it. I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. So, but I mean, if you don't have to have those interviews, if you're not like, if you pay for Amazon Prime, it's free with Prime. So if you already pay for Prime, you can just click play. You're good to go.
If you haven't seen it since the VHS days, search it out now too, because the VHS copy was horrifically cut. Not for content, because there's really nothing in the movie that would get it that's objectionable, but it was a horrific transfer that was missing segments of the film. Basically, between every reel change, there's like a minute missing. So the VHS is about the worst way to watch it. So if you had a bad impression of it because of that, give it another shot now.
Okay.
Great review, Susan. Great choice.
Thank you.
Well
Thanks.
done. Christian, what do you got for us this week, man?
A lot of times when I have conversations with my boys and whatever, we'll bring up a movie, and more often than not, you'll hear, "Oh, I used to hate that movie, but I watched it again. Like I liked it now or whatever." So I'm like, okay, like I thought it'd be cool to spotlight that and everybody to talk about like a movie you hated or loved, and then you've completely changed. I have a couple I was going to mention, and then I'd love to hear if everybody's got a movie, that you changed your mind on. The first of my three, it's boring, but it's the truth. The original Friday the 13th, it was bottom 5 on my list for a long time. I thought it was boring or slow or bad. But to be honest, I would never revisit the first one. I'd start with Final Chapter and then watch 5, And I'll be honest with you, when I started watching Italian movies and stuff like that, and I really started to appreciate movies that you have to just let, set a tone in the room and stuff like that, an atmosphere. That's when I started to see the original in a different light. Now it's top 5 easy. It's top 5 easy for me. And I love the first Friday the 13th. Quite frankly, like I said, it's probably one of the best ones. If people tell me it's the best one, I'm not going to argue it. So I really love the first Friday the 13th now. You know what I mean? Like it's the second one. When I went to the theater with my wife to watch this, I was just like, oh, that was okay. But then every time I rewatch it, it's one of those movies I'm like, Jesus Christ, Evil Dead 2013. And when I watch that, every time I watch it, I'm like, damn it, that is good. To hell with Bruce Campbell. I don't need him. That was good. But when I first saw the movie, I was like, where the hell is Bruce? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, Christian, stop. Just stop. Your back's against the wall already. What are you doing? You didn't even give yourself a chance to enjoy this movie, which I think is a problem that a lot of us sometimes have in terms of going to see a movie, if it's a remake or something like that. God knows that 1.5 million people probably went to go see Dawn of the Dead 04, and then they might have walked out like, God damn it, that was badass, because I know a lot of people love that remake. I'm one of them. So Evil Dead was another movie. I love it. And every time I watch 2013, I'm like, God damn, that is good. And from childhood, I hated Gremlins 2. I hated it because I love the first one so much. And I love Joe Dante. George Romero's my favorite director. Joe Dante's my second favorite. And the older I would get, I would finally, I would never watch Gremlins 2. I would listen to Joe Dante talk about making the movie, and it makes sense to me now. How the hell are you going to top it? Let's have fun. Why are we taking this seriously to begin with? So he completely just has a blast with Gremlins 2. And you've got horror legends in it too as well. Now I love Gremlins 2. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite Joe Dante films, So it's funny how perception has a lot to do with this stuff. When you watch a movie, how you watch a movie, there's a lot of things that factor into it, I think. But it's interesting how we can change our minds on films that, you are, back against the wall at one point, like I hate it, blah, blah, blah. But then you're like, well, I say I hate this movie. When's the last time I watched it? Let me check this out again. What do I hate about it? You try to explain to yourself why you hate it. You don't really know, so sometimes it's smart and fun to go back and revisit a movie you might hate to see why. So, Gremlins 2 was a movie as a kid, I didn't dig it because I loved the first one so much. I just wanted Gizmo in that house with the family and all that. Now I love Gremlins 2. I love it because it makes total sense to me now. Why are we taking this seriously? Let's have fun. So those are some movies that I completely changed my mind on, and now I love them. And there are other movies that I probably liked more as a kid, but I think are just garbage now. Like when I was telling this last time, when I was a kid, Mortal Kombat Annihilation was a dead serious film. I was like 6. That movie was serious as a heart attack to me because that was my reality. You know what I mean? But now it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, I read somewhere that the CGI in that movie wasn't even the real finished CGI. It was just templates used for a screening, and nobody really complained. So they just said, let's put it out. Screw it.
Oh,
So, there's movies that you hate when you get older and you say, God, when I was a kid, I was the most gullible little bastard out there. So yeah, I just think it's interesting how you could change your mind on movies. So those are some that I have completely changed my mind on. So there we go.
Anybody?
I'd actually like to add a movie I just found on Amazon Prime the other day that I hated as a child. No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan. I hated that. I don't care if I was a child. My cousins all loved it. I hated it. And I was just like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I watched it on Amazon Prime like a month ago, and I had too much fun. I was just enjoying myself. I'm like, this movie's despicable. It's misogynistic. It's gross. It's filthy. It's a really filthy, nasty movie. But it's fun. It's just so great. I mean, to see Hulk Hogan clothesline this dude on the car, and he's not really clothesline. It's like the guy ran into his arm and made himself fall. I was like, this is trash. And then like Zeus grabs this lady and throws her on top of the table. I'm like, this is horrible, but it's great at the same time. That movie is just too much fun. I love it. Nah, dude.
Brother.
Doo-doo, or whatever the line is. It's horrible.
I've got 3. Ghostbusters 2. I walked out of the theater absolutely disappointed in that film compared to the first one. It just seemed like to me it was like, we're back, but we have nothing to say. That's the way I felt about it. Now, after rewatching it all these years, I actually like it quite a bit. So that's one I've kind of changed on. Alien 3, hated it. Absolutely hated it. Got the quadrilogy, watched the alternate cut. I like it a lot better than I used to. It's still not my
Welcome
favorite.
to the dark side.
It's not my favorite. Unlike Lorna, I have a lot of love for 2.
We're not going there. We're just not going there.
The first one is still the best, but Aliens is right up there. And 3 has now, risen in ranks for me. And
God bless.
Day of the Dead. After Night and Dawn, I was kind of bored when I first saw it because it's a lack of locations, there's a lack of action, it's a bunch of dialogue and people arguing, and granted the special effects were great, but it just kind of drug. But after several rewatches and 30 some years later, I really enjoy it. I definitely think I really appreciate the performances and I put a lot more. So there'll be 3 for me.
Very nice.
Stone, you were going to chime in?
And that music in Day of the Dead, Mike, completely underrated, that score. Money.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's 2 films from 1991 that I saw very recently for the first time in about 25, 30 years. One of them was Dan Aykroyd's Nothing But Trouble, which in many ways is a very demented comedy, but with a few screws, it's a horror film. It's like Texas Chainsaw in like the middle
it's amazing.
Nowhere. It is amazing. I mean, like the bone stripper, and like in the next scene, they just eat everybody that went through the bone stripper in the form of hot dogs.
Oh, it's so gross.
Yeah, it's like body horror when he's eating that hot dog. It's
with bread. He just bread
and the mustard.
Yeah, a loaf of bread, Stone. Grab yourself a couple of dogs.
Tupac Shakur and the Digital Underground show up near the end. All around the world, the same song.
Same song.
If you can get into Dan Aykroyd's demented sense of humor, I think Nothing But Trouble will do a little better for you. And the other one was, I didn't care for it at the time, but I saw it for the first time again recently, thanks to Piz's review and somebody else on Twitter. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is like a near classic to me now. especially when I found out that the eldest son follows me on Twitter. Now I feel a little embarrassed that I waited this long to check it out again. But yeah, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. And I don't really have a third, but I will say, Christian, you do know that Bruce Campbell appears at the very end of Evil Dead, right?
Yes. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But you got to understand, Stone, I did not stay in the theater to watch all it. When the credits roll, this is what I do.
You can't do that though. That's when you miss it.
Jason is in part 5. Michael Myers is in part 3. And yes, Bruce Campbell is in Evil Dead 2013. Just saying.
It's quite a little cameo too.
Great movie.
Oh,
Great
I bet he got
movie.
paid. I bet he got paid like $1 million for that. 2 seconds.
He was a producer on the film. He didn't have a choice.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I gotta say R.I.P. to Humpty.
That's right. Shock G.
Yeah. Shock G, man.
Christian will enjoy I used to hate it and now I love it because it's Halloween 3.
Right.
When I was
Hey.
young, I was like, Michael Myers is not even though on the TV, I know, Stone, I got you, but I'm like, it's not Michael Myers. I don't want to see it. I don't understand why. And then I got older and I'm like, okay, let me watch this. Let me just sit down, remove myself from this and just watch it. And I'm like, you know what? This movie is really cool. It's totally separate. I wish it was just called Season of the Witch. I mean, but I have no objection to it being Halloween 3 now. But back then I'm like, you know what? If this was just called Season of the Witch, I like this movie. And then through the years, of course, like now it's legendary to me. So there's that one. And my other one is Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Originally, I'm like, why is Freddy possessing? That doesn't make sense. Like, he's already in everybody's dreams. Why is he possessing someone now? And then later on, everybody kept saying, oh, well, it's the gay one, blah, 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 or whatever. It's a metaphor for homosexuality and trying to come out. And then I watched it with those goggles on, and I'm like, this movie is epic. I freaking love it. So those are my 2 that I absolutely love because, you know, that when you're looking at it through the perception of, okay, Freddy is Freddy in the dreams and now he's possessing. And so I'm just going to focus on that. And I'm not going to give the rest of this movie a chance. I was really disappointed in myself. The same with Halloween 3. Like, I feel like I just had blinders on because of stupid surface stuff. And I love both those movies now.
And I want to add, I think that Nightmare on Elm Street 2 has the most terrifying version of Freddy.
It does.
I mean, he's really scary in that. I wish they would go back to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they made him funnier over time, and it's like, please rein it back in.
Freddy's dead. Horrible.
One movie that jumped immediately to mind when Christian brought up that topic is Argento's Tenebrae.
Oh yeah.
I now love Argento's Tenebrae, but the first time I saw it,
Right.
and I'd already seen Deep Red and Suspiria, and I'd seen Opera, and I'd seen pretty much all the classics, Argento stuff. And I saw Tenebrae, and I was just like, oh, this is bad. This sucks. I don't like this at all. And then like the twist, and I was just like, no, this isn't for me. And I don't know. I just kept kind of. It was just not one of my favorite Argento movies. And then I rewatched it years later, and I was like, "This is freaking awesome! I love every second of this." So I don't know what was going on. I think how you. So much of how you respond to a movie is your mood at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you focused on the movie at the time? Are you thinking about work? Are you thinking about relationship? Are you thinking about money? Are you thinking about, I think there are so many things that can, cause you to, I don't know, that can take your mind away from the movie. But I don't know that the second time I watched it, I just freaking loved every second of it. So that one's the one that definitely jumps to mind. Is like, I hated it the first time. And I really hated it because I was just like, this is not my Argento. This is not the Argento. This is not Deep Red Argento. I don't know what this is. And then of course you get a few years beyond that, you got a whole other Argento at play, and we won't go there, but
yeah. How about that Dracula movie, huh?
Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I now absolutely love Tenebrae.
it's funny you say that because my example was always going to be like the first time I saw the original Phantasm was a television broadcast, and I was deathly ill. I was a kid, and I was sicker than I'd ever been in my life. And that movie, I don't even remember much of watching that movie, but every time I revisited that movie over the course of most of the 80s, I would have kind of this phantom memory of how I felt, and I disliked the movie intensely because I associated it with that first viewing. So when you say it depends on what's going through your head, also what's going on with you biologically, because I love the original Phantasm. I do prefer the second film, and I know that's not a popular take, but I would say that how you go into a film and how you're feeling does play a huge role. I immediately give any film I see theatrically probably more credit than I should because I love going to the movies. If you have an overly sweet soda, that's, a tanker truck soda in that cup holder next to you, and some super, super salty popcorn in a tub in front of you, any movie jumps at least a star on the scale, right? Immediately.
Right.
But I have the bigger problem. I don't so much have the problem of like discovering that I like movies that I used to hate. I haven't had that many turnarounds that way. I've had, incremental changes, but I haven't had big jumps. But I do have a policy that if I start disliking a movie more than the last time I watched it, I stop watching that movie. Because I don't want to dislike more movies than I like. So I'd rather leave the memory where it was. Crystallize it there, that's fine, and that's my experience, because movies are all subjective, right? I mean, how you take them is how you take them. So if I could get to the world whereas every movie is at least okay, I'm happy. But for an example, and again, not a popular take, but every time I watched Pulp Fiction, I liked it less. So I stopped watching Pulp Fiction so I could still say I like the movie. Because I don't want to get to the point whereas, for whatever reason, it doesn't work for me and I say have to fight that fight with people. Yeah. Clearly, I watched Aliens way too fucking many times. So I'm not going to let it happen again.
A perfect example of what I was saying earlier. I actually started watching. It was a couple hours before the show started, and I was like, let's see, let's find something to watch here. Oh, I've been wanting to watch Jacob's Wife for a while, so I watched Jacob's Wife. So I rent it. And I'm watching it, but I'm not really paying that much attention to it. And I go, okay, let me just stop the movie because my mind is elsewhere. I'm looking at my phone. I'm thinking about this, that, and the other. Let me stop it and I'll come back to it, tomorrow or maybe later tonight. And I can really focus on the movie. And, Larry Fessenden as a small town minister. How can that not be good? Barbara Crampton is a Nosferatu style vampire. How can that not be good? So I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I think what was one I can think of. What the hell was I going to say? One other one I could just think of right offhand. I remember really hating Batman Returns when that came out. Keep in mind I was 10, but I remember hating Batman Returns. I remember just sitting in the theater like, what? Danny DeVito's a penguin and he's in a carriage floating in the sewer, and Christopher Walken has got this hair, and Michelle Pfeiffer, he shot her 10 times, but she's not dead, but she's human. And what? And I hated it. But when I watch Batman Returns now, I can fully appreciate the Tim Burton isms of it and how freaky and weird and not for children it is, because I'm watching it now. I'm like, geez, this is kind of there's a lot of perversion in that movie, and but I will say it's fantastic at what it does, which is being not a sequel to Batman, being its own weird animal people Christmas story is what it is. And I will say, I think Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer's chemistry in that movie is electric. And people can say Anne Hathaway and Christian Bale. I don't think their chemistry was good. I think they're good actors, but in that film, But Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer are two they're demented, sick people in that movie. And it works, man. That scene at the hall where they're dancing.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I'm here for Max," and Michael Keaton goes like, "Look, you're not really here for like Max," and she just cracks up, and it's so it's great. It's great.
Monty, Danny DeVito as a penguin is the only thing he's ever done that's ever made sense to me. He's such a short, stocky little bastard. You know what I mean? He's a penguin.
Damn.
Hey,
He bites
that's
his
not
nose.
cool. That's some kind of is right there. Stop it.
What were you saying about gatekeeping, Biz?
Yeah.
I see let's see, Cameron in the chat mentioned Book of Shadows. Who mentioned, somebody mentioned Book of Shadows, I think, before Cameron did. But yeah, that's a movie that I hated the first time I saw it in the theater. Absolutely hated it. And I over the years it's grown on me, and I do like it. I like it a lot now.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
I loved it on day one.
Yeah, me too. I liked that movie when I saw it in the theater, because how else are you going to approach it? I mean, you're not just going to remake the first one, right? I mean, there's limited ways to approach a sequel on that one, and I thought they did a great job. I liked it.
Yeah, that movie is a perfect criticism of its earlier incarnation. It's something so brave. It's you say what happens when they made another movie about kids going into the woods and getting lost. We all like turned our nose up because it was obviously pointless. But with Book of Shadows, they did something completely different, and I loved it.
Anybody else? Any other movies? I was going to throw out there the Black Christmas remake, but I've talked about it before. The first remake. I saw it. In the theater.
What? Oh, okay.
I was about to say, wait, what?
I saw it in the theater.
I still hate that one.
I can hear Piz right now. I like 2019 Black Christmas.
I like that one too. I do like that first remake. I saw the
I like it too. Always have.
I saw the new one on HBO the other day.
Oh,
do you need help? Do you need help, Monty? Anything I can do for you?
Man, it was
2 hours you'll never get back. You'll never get those 2 hours back.
Monty, when you're on your deathbed, you're gonna be thinking, I could have had 2 more hours.
Oh my god, man! I lost too much time in my life. My lady's just like, why are we watching this? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to see how this ends. And
what did she think of it?
She just thought it was stupid. She thought the whole thing was stupid. She hated it. She was like, "Can you please cut it off?" And at that point, it was a battle to see just if I could get through it and prove her wrong. You know,
prove her wrong.
I did that. But I
got one Piz.
It treats the audience like we're all stupid. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that are, but we're not that stupid.
It's I don't even know.
They're catering to the stupid people.
What were we going to say?
I got one, Piz. Okay, in high school, right at the tail end of high school, when I first got into horror big time, I used to try to show people movies and like, dude, check this out with me. I vividly remember pulling out House of Wax 05. Oh, I ain't watching that bull crap with Paris Hilton. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And then I was in my head, I was like, God damn, I kind of liked it though. And so for a long time, I just wouldn't watch it because I got made fun of for liking it. And I was like, damn it, I like this movie though. And so I would lie. That ain't that great. I love 2005 House of Wax. Not only that, I challenge anybody to watch that movie and tell me who Paris Hilton is worse than. She's perfectly fine in that movie. And not only that, she's the original girl who's famous for doing nothing. And now she's cool. I love Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
I want her to come back and do more.
Paris Hilton does not get the credit as an actress she deserves. I mean, she's not a great thespian, but I mean, she's good in House of Wax. She's great in Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Her best.
Bring back Paris Hilton.
I've never seen her on television, but
you guys
in film.
I have.
Her best acting.
What's that, Susan?
Her best acting was the character of Paris Hilton. I mean, she has come out now and she said, "Look, I played this up. I did the voice. I did the little." thing or whatever. I mean, because let's be honest, if she wasn't a really good business person, she wouldn't have been able to pull that off, but she made everybody think she was dumb as heck. So like that's pretty, like I'll give her a SAG card for that. I'm just saying.
I wasn't a big fan of that one movie she was in. It was all shot in night vision.
Oh, you nasty son of a gun. I was pissed. That's going to be a bonus feature on the new House of Wax Scream Factory.
Oh, no.
I can't.
For this topic, one thing I'd like to throw out there is because I do intend to watch it again very soon. I was talking about it with Jay and Jamie on another stream. I'm probably going to watch I Know Who Killed Me with Lindsay Lohan again, because apparently it's gotten a reassessment.
We had that at my theater, Stone, when that came out for it was like 2 days and it was gone.
2 days.
We sold literally like 5 tickets for it. I remember.
I was
I've
at
seen
the
that movie,
Razzie
yeah.
ceremony in LA when it won 8 Razzies out of the 9 that it was nominated for. I told the press, this is a true story. I told the press at the time, I would rather have a dog fart in my face than see I Know Who Killed Me again. But Perry, this recent reassessment is actually making me think maybe I give another chance now.
Hey,
You
I
don't
think
have
Frank
my dog.
Mancuso Jr. produced that too.
He did. He did.
Didn't the guy who directed
Mhm.
The Lost direct that also?
What?
The Jack
Chris
Ketchum
Silverstone
adaptation? I think that might have been him. I don't remember.
Huh.
But anywho, let's move on. Mike, what have you got for us this week, man?
Just a quick thoughts on a flick that I was really disappointed by. Unfortunately, it's from a couple years ago, 2019, The Dead Don't Die. I remember seeing previews for it. It could have been great. You had a great cast. I mean, just a great cast. Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Carol Kane, Steve Buscemi, Danny Glover. I mean, the list goes on. It looked like a slacker zombie comedy type thing with Bill Murray doing his best deadpan non-reactions. Missed opportunity. 2-word review. The characters are not only self-aware, but the actors are self-aware that they're in a movie.
Yeah,
there's so much that could have been done with that. I give it 2.5 stars for the cast and a few laughs, but what it could have been, it's got the 2019 stank on it, and unfortunately, it gives references to Romero, but it's nothing. Romero's crapped out more interesting stuff than that. I mean, it's just a big disappointment. It wants to be like The Life Aquatic. It's got that kind of feel to it, the slacker style meta comedy type thing, but it just misses almost every mark. It's just, God, every scene was just one disappointment after another of what they could have done but didn't do. The choices were horrible. I'm not familiar with the director, Jim Jarmusch, I think his name is. He's done some good stuff, Ghost Dog and other things, but this is a big miss, a swing and a miss on this one, and it's really a shame because he wasted a great cast and a pretty cool premise. I mean, you got a zombie comedy with Bill Murray. There's callbacks to his appearance in a funnier zombie comedy.
That's what I was just going to ask you.
Yeah,
Was Zombieland?
But there's Zombieland. There's a.
Was he better in that?
Yeah. Oh, he's much better in that. Well, Bill Murray's not the problem though. It's the material. It's the script. It's the story. It's the pacing. It's just like, what's the point? A lot of the jokes are just kind of, okay, so fracking at the polar caps have caused the Earth to go off its axis, and now the dead are rising. And what? And Steve Buscemi's wearing a hat that says "Make America White Again." Right? There's a funny joke. That's not timely, right? That's not going to age well. Yeah. And then, guess what? All the zombies that attack his house. Oh, by the way, he's the most hated character in the film, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Obviously.
And all the zombies that attack his house are people of color. Boy, we didn't see that coming. It's just lazy. There's premise here. There's jokes here, but and ultimately it comes down to, well, everybody in town has plenty of weapons because it's established that there's plenty of weapons that could fight off the zombie horde. But why don't they? Well, it's because the people of the earth have plenty of weapons to fight off global warming and climate change, but yet they do nothing and let the earth die. It's like, it's lazy. It's like, come on, guys, really? I mean, wow. It was just a big disappointment. It could have been funny. The premise was cool. I mean, Iggy Pop has a cameo, and you waste Iggy Pop. Come on, man.
Wow.
It's as a coffee loving zombie. I mean, he's great in what he does. I mean, I would say watch it, but just don't expect much. I mean, it's a big disappointment.
That's such a shame.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Stone. I was going to say, I love Jim Jarmusch's movies. I love Ghost Dog. I love Dead Man. I love Broken Flowers. I thought was really good. There's a couple others I can't think off the top of my head, but I was like, oh, Jim Jarmusch doing a zombie movie. It looks like it's very dry. I'll watch that. I'll watch that. That might be fun. And I watched it, and I really felt like the movie was making fun of me for watching it.
No, Piz is correct. Piz is correct. The point of that movie is that Jim Jarmusch wanted to tell everyone he thought that mainstream entertainment, as well as news consumption, that we all just eat trash, garbage, that we are morons, and to be worse about it, he thought that the zombie subgenre was the best example of why we're morons. This film is so insulting to its audience, and that's the point, is to insult its audience. We're having the reaction he wanted us to have to the film.
Well, then it's a well-made film, and I just good job then.
But who's going to celebrate that, though? You know, it's like
they kind of did that with it. Was it Idiocracy?
Idiocracy.
Yeah.
So the difference there is that Idiocracy is asking you to laugh along with how bad the situation. This film actually weaponizes it against the audience that's watching the film.
You. Oh no, that's not okay.
We're not laughing with you. We're laughing at you.
At you. Okay,
yes.
I really hated, and I don't know. I felt like it was whenever like those sequences toward the end where like Bruce, they'd be in the car together and they'd be talking like, how are we going to get out of this situation? And Adam Driver goes, well, I don't know. Jim didn't give me the last pages of the script. How much of the script did you get? I got it all but the last 5 pages. I don't know what to do now. Well, you're breaking the fourth wall. You're talking about the movie. You're talking about the script for the movie. You're talking about the director of the movie, and like I mean, that just
Bill Murray's like, what? Are we ad-libbing now? Or are we improvising? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then they start talking about the director. He's like, I've done a lot for Jim. You know, he looks like kind of looks at the camera and, well, Adam Driver, the running joke is it's not going to end well. It's going to end badly. It's going to end badly. Well, how do you know it's going to end badly? Because I read the script. Well, you read the script? He goes, all he gave me were our scenes. How did you get the script? You know, and then they're arguing over that. And it's like, what the is going on here? It's not even creative breaking the fourth wall.
No, it's not. It's not.
You know, Mike, if you ever have any opportunity, or I'll do the same. If you could ever run into Bill Murray one day, I just want to look him straight in his beady little eyes and say, you wouldn't do a Ghostbusters 3, but you did The Dead Don't Die, you stupid son of a bitch.
How much do you hate your audience, man? I mean, really?
Well, he's done Ghostbusters 3 now. It just won't come out till November.
Yeah.
Afterlife, yeah.
I don't know. I just think that it'd be nice for the people making movies to have some respect for their audience. That would be nice. And this film is only the worst example of it. Like there is one of the reasons I don't watch very much, although I go see everything theatrically I can in the genre, but I can't get my enthusiasm built up for most of where American cinema is right now, is that there is a disdain for everyday Americans living everyday lives. When's the last time you saw a portrayal of a truly middle class family in a mainstream American film? It's pretty rare. It's either dirt poor or ultra rich. But the people who make up the majority of the country, they don't represent us. They don't have an interest in it. And I'm not one for representation because I hate that word. I think it has all kinds of baggage attached to it that is just ludicrous and divisive. But it'd be nice to have some stories that we can at least relate to on some level.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't need to be represented, but I damn sure want to be entertained.
Yeah.
There we go.
I wouldn't recommend Dead Don't Die. Actually,
send it as a gift to people you don't like.
That's the movie when I'm on my deathbed. I'm gonna go, God, I could have had 2 more hours, but Jim didn't give me the script.
It had scathing reviews when it came out. I kind of wanted to see it, and everything I read said it was just awful. I didn't even read reviews. I just know it said like stuff that said it wasn't good. So I didn't know it was this bad.
Well, it must have was out and gone quick because I remember the previews, and then it was like, what happened to that movie? And then I saw it was on HBO Max. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch that. Holy shit. What am I watching?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be so good, so bad it's good. But then everybody was like, no, it's just bad. And I'm like, okay, well, then I'll just save it for whenever I feel like, you know what, let's just throw away 2 hours of life. We have nothing better to do.
I saw it the opening weekend in the theater, and I started out with not a great representation of an audience, but it was an audience. By the end, I was one of 3 that had stuck it out. Like people it was almost like clockwork that people were just giving up on it and just leaving. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes me heroic or stupid, but
or a little of both.
We'll have to ask the director.
But again, popcorn, tanker truck soda.
A tanker truck.
There you go.
Or you get those nachos where the cheese is just the perfect temperature and the chips are the perfect temperature, and it's just like, oh,
it don't matter what the hell you're watching.
I know. Yeah,
my favorite character was the Undertaker. What's her name? Zelda Swinton or
Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton. Yeah, that was like a where did that come from moment. You know, that was at least distracting enough to like, oh, okay. You could kind of tell something was up with her character just by her interactions with the other cast members, but it was just kind of like, how does that fit in, and why should I care? But okay. And then the final showdown in the cemetery, and Tom Waits as Bob, Hobo Bob, probably the smartest character in the film, and a representation of the actual audience. Nothing but complete disdain for everything going on in the film.
Oh goodness, the dead don't die. Let it die. Let the dead die. Monty, what do you got for us this week, man?
Oh man, I wanted to talk about this. I want to do a retrospective on this underrated classic entitled True Romance from 1993, written by Quentin Tarantino, the man himself, and directed by, rest in peace, Mr. Tony Scott. True Romance. I hadn't seen it. I don't remember how many years, but I watched it again. I convinced my lady. I said, "Hey, let's check this movie out. I've never heard of it. Okay, just watch it. Just come on. Don't be mad at me when it's over." And which she loved it. But we watched the film, and it is. I really could say True Romance is Quentin Tarantino's most honest, I think, and brilliant piece of work that he's made. He only wrote it, like I said, but accounting for all his work, the writing and the directing side, I think that it's his most honest piece of work. I think it's the film that is the most him. When I say him, I mean it's basically like kind of a ultra violent, hyper fairy tale-esque kind of crime drama, where there's this guy who's a comic book store clerk. He meets a hooker, a call girl, and they have a little relationship, and they steal some cocaine accidentally, and they run off and do all sorts of crazy shenanigans. But the character of Clarence is so much like Tarantino. And one of the things, I think it's one of Christian Slater's most best performances, in the fact that Christian Slater, as far as his stardom and all that, is completely stripped from his Young Guns, Pump Up the Volume, Heathers, all that fun stuff that we love. He's just weird, and he's crazy, and he hears voices, which is Elvis, which Tarantino loves Elvis, and it's played by Val Kilmer. And the way it's like his alter ego, his subconscious, but the way he's presented in the film, you don't even see his face, which that was an editing choice later on. He's just a blur. And it's got an all-star cast. I mean, you got James Gandolfini before he was famous, Dennis Hopper, Christopher Walken, Brad Pitt, Michael Rappaport, Tom Sizemore, who I think is underrated and doesn't get enough credit, Chris Penn. Gary Oldman, who plays a white pimp who wants to be black. It's phenomenal, and how layered it is, and how it started the trend of the Tarantino isms of one having little quirks of dialogue where you mention films. Gary Oldman is taunting Christian Slater. There's a woman with her breasts on screen, and Christian Slater goes, "Well, it's the Mac. I've already seen that film." The Mac. He calls him Mr. Majestic, talking about Charles Bronson. It's Gary Oldman has got this exaggerated, excuse my politically incorrect presentation, but white wanting to be black accent sort of thing going on, where he's like, "I ask you if you want some dinner, and you tie down and start chowing down. You got to carry the world." And I'm like, it's great. It's just so much fun, and I love how it played up. Yes, there he is, and he actually said he got into that character because he met some guys on the street where they were shooting. He laid some bucks on them and said, like, "What's up? Give me hip to some street game," and they told him. And it also started the trend of having minor characters whose storylines don't necessarily go anywhere, but they have their moments. So you get to know every single character in the movie, and it's done with such pizzazz and such flash, and it's so unique and different, and it's raw. It's very raw, unapologetically, not nice. The Sicilian scene where Dennis Hopper basically knows he's gonna die. That's a little uncomfortable, but it's just what it should be. It should just be raw, and it should make you feel the discomfort that he feels because he's about to get his brains blown out. And he's like, "Well, how do I just die quickly?" Because he ain't getting out of that situation.
He's got to give up his kid, right? Because Christian Slater's his son.
His kid. Who's going to do that?
So he's like, okay, Christopher Walken, that's a beautiful scene between those two guys. So how can I speed this up? All right, I'm just going to insult this guy to make him want to kill me quicker.
Yeah, and I love how
it's great.
It was great, Mike, how he plays him. He plays Christopher Walken.
Yep.
Because Christopher Walken is like, "I'm going to do some damage to you that you can't walk away from." And then he just goes like, "Well, I'm not going to say what he says in the scene, but he flips it on him and he gets him so angry that he just kills him, And then to have Tom Sizemore and Chris Penn, they're such cool cops that I wanted to see a movie about them. And Bronson Pinchot, or what was that show in the 80s? Stepdads.
Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers. And Bronson Pinchot is excellent in that movie. He's such a coward. And I guess this movie producer was based on Joe Silver because Tony Scott hated him after Last Boy Scout. And I was like, if that's really Joe Silver, then I don't want to be in there. It's great. And the shootout at the end is just quintessential 90s cheese. It's fantastic. Hans Zimmer did the score before The Dark Knight. I love this movie. There's nothing that can be said. It's great.
It's okay.
It's great.
He thought it was White Boy Day. Is it White Boy Day? Nah, it ain't White Boy Day.
He keep Loverboy entertained.
Yeah, keep Loverboy entertained.
Samuel Jackson is in that movie too.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah. We won't even go into what he's talking about. He's talking about.
He's talking.
He's talking about some real stuff there. He's talking like you can imagine Tarantino writing that scene and going,
"Oh, yeah,
that's good." Leaning back in his chair, going,
yeah. Of course, there's feet in the script, but I think we talked about that for 45 minutes last time.
I love True Romance. It was the first movie that really made me pay attention to, like, okay, who's making these movies? Like, somebody wrote this movie. Who is that guy? Somebody, this movie, so the dialogue and the characters and everything about it's just jumping off the screen, and like somebody really talented created this, and it's so stylish. Somebody really talented directed this, and the cast is so phenomenal. It was the movie that really kind of made me realize that movies can be more than just entertainment, and that's when really talented people come together, they can create magic. I just love every bit of True Romance from beginning to end.
Tarantino definitely had a gift. My dad, who worked in the prison system for 35 years, loved Tarantino. He said nobody can write street better than that guy.
Yeah,
he's like, that guy knows the lingo. He's got a talent for it. And he loved Tarantino films because it didn't get more real than that for him. And it could be considered offensive or dangerous, but it's art. It's like, can we calm down a little bit and just enjoy the movie? The movie itself isn't going to hurt anybody, but there are real people like that in the world, and it's okay. You know, it's
And
going to be okay.
And I think that's the way it has to be. I don't think. I think the in the theater,
Son of Cuba,
Santiago. But I think, like, for example, James Gandolfini laying on that beating on Patricia Arquette,
Oh,
and that scene is whew.
it's difficult to watch.
It's tough. My lady, I remember we were watching it, and she was just kind of like, ooh, but she stuck through it because it's so compelling. And watching how this 300-pound man is beating on this 120-pound woman, but she's tough.
Mm-hmm.
She's sticking it out. She's like, well, you got the brute strength. You can smash me up against furniture, but I'm not giving it up. So you're still going to lose here no matter how much you beat me. It's like, damn, that shows her true strength and her character in that scene.
I just want to throw out there because and it helps that I'm not the biggest Tarantino fan in the world, but I want to throw out there that when we have these conversations, it's always important to mention that Roger Avery co-wrote all those early screenplays. And it's important because if you look at the later Tarantino work, they're a lot more self-indulgent. And those early works that were a lot tighter, I think that's a lot of Avery's influence. So, I mean, credit where it's due. Maybe it's just the writer in me coming out, but I don't like that we don't ever mention Avery when we talk about the early Tarantino classics.
He was on Pulp Fiction, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I think what was the credit? Stories by or something. So like Tarantino wouldn't give him like a co-screenplay credit, give him like a stories by credit, but he still won an Oscar.
They wrote this massive multi-film screenplay, basically, that Reservoir Dogs, True Romance, Natural Born Killers, Pulp Fiction. I'm missing one, and it's driving me nuts. But anyway, they were all spiderwebbed off of a single diner scene. So if you think of it as like a flower, like the diner scene, which would have been the starting point for all of the films, came out from that. And of course, Avery had his problems in life, and Tarantino had not as many problems and was probably a little bit better of a politician. So today they have very different careers. But I just think it's important that we make sure that we acknowledge, those formative creations.
I've not, you mentioned Roger Avery's name. I've not even heard that name in years. I've honestly not thought about Roger Avery in years.
Well, he unfortunately had some legal trouble a couple years back. And it wasn't even so much that, because you can come back from that, just like Eric Red came back from a similar situation.
Right.
But when you come back and it's the world of social media, you have to, and especially in the environment today, he's just not a guy who's probably going to get back in the graces of the Hollywood elite. But I still think it is important, no matter what, to just, the hard work is the hard work. And writing can be extraordinarily hard work. So I just want to make sure we're throwing it. And people will probably think I'm being a pedantic asshole at this point, and I don't care.
Well, I can definitely see his early work versus his later work, where Tarantino could have used a bit more of an editor in his material going forward, because it does get a little long and windy. He doesn't have that guy to tighten it up. So I can definitely see the lack of influence and the missing influence of Avery. So that's a good point, though. He was definitely there for some of his strongest work.
He did the Killing Zoe movie, right? Didn't he do that Killing Zoe?
Killing Zoe. He did the Rules of Attraction.
Oh,
yeah.
Casper Van Dien was in that, right?
James Van Der Beek.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Varsity Blues. Yeah.
They were going to do another one based on another Bret Easton Ellis novel, but then that's when Avery got into his legal trouble, and that just never happened. So, because the character in The Rules of Attraction is actually Patrick Bateman's brother. So, like all of Bret Easton Ellis's stories are kind of involve similar, kind of like the Tarantino stuff.
Right.
But there's a great interview with Gary Oldman on the set of True Romance on YouTube. You can find it, where Gary Oldman's just like, and Tony called me and asked me to be in this movie. And I said, well, tell me about the character, Tony. And he said, he's a pimp. He's a white pimp who thinks he's black. And I said, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I didn't need to read the script. I'll do it. And he's sitting there. He's got his old Drexel outfit on, but he's talking very proper English, very Gary Oldman. He goes, and how I developed there were some guys playing, and I heard one of them go, "Hey, yo, man, yo." And so I walked up to them and I said, "Pardon me, can I record you guys speaking?" And they were just like, "Sure, I guess." So, I mean, it's such a great interview.
But it's how he completely. But what I love about that movie too is how everybody completely immerses. They're not acting; they're in it. They are living it. And when Gary Oldman just goes, look at here, Charlie, and he wants some dinner, and he goes, you just looking at me as a parent, It's just phenomenal. I'm totally engrossed every time I watch it.
Yeah,
isn't that the movie where Brad Pitt's like laying on a couch smoking weed?
Yeah,
and they come in to ask him where his friend. He really was smoking weed. I mean, we're talking about method. I mean, yeah, he was in it.
He said he imagined doing that scene as a contestant on a game show. So that's what Brad Pitt said. So when the guys come in and go get the shotguns and they go, "Where's he at?" He said and then when I watched the scene again, I'm like, "Oh, I see how he answered it." He goes like, "Yes, they're down the street." And it's like, "Oh, I get it now." It's hysterical.
You take 44 to Broadway,
right?
And then you.
It's great. It's great.
To make a long story short, go watch True Romance if you haven't seen True Romance.
That's a classic.
It's a great movie.
Well, let's talk about our individual channels for a moment and what's going on our individual channels. Susan, what's going on your channel?
Nothing. I'm here.
Come on,
so
Susan.
you guys, let's just tell it like it is. The real talk. Okay, pick up your tea or your alcoholic beverage or whatever you have. No, I just, this situation. I was coming off the heels of not coping well with the loss of my dad. And I'm like, okay, I found a grief therapist. I'm going to get my life back in order. This is going to happen. And then COVID. So it did not bode well with me and my medical related PTSD from my father's death and my mom having a tragic accident, but thank God she's okay. So I basically, maybe 12 years ago, I took my laptop into Best Buy and they were like, "Who did all this?" I said, "Me." They were like, "You could be a hacker." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And then, a year goes by, you're busy, you're doing stuff, and you just kind of fall off the wagon, right? So I am technologically challenged now. I went from being having an advantage to just completely in deficit. And, I never really got to do that much with my channel, and I really wanted to. And then I had to go back to where I'm from with a situation with my dad and my mom. And so I was gone for a while, so I didn't upload videos. So the YouTube algorithm and all that crap came in. And then I'm like, okay, let me just try to make some videos. But my heart wasn't in it because I wasn't able to do the kind of videos that I really wanted to do because I'm not I could not do this. I'd be like, "You guys come to my channel," but I don't know how to do it. It's going to be a hot mess. So I just, I haven't really done much. I don't think I've uploaded a video in a few months now. I was uploading every week and then I haven't in a few months because I don't believe in what they refer to now as toxic positivity or faking it or being phony. I don't want to come on and be like, "Hi, everybody, look at this movie," when I really don't care and I'm in a bad place or whatever. Not in a dark place like people say or whatever, but just, kind of in a funk, And so now I don't know, maybe talking to everybody now, maybe I'll put a video up in a few days or something like that. I don't know. But I was doing every week. The channel is not dead. I'm not abandoning it. I've just taken a little breather because I've just been a little overwhelmed with the state of the world right now. So, but I, Horror Gal Susan, pretty much on all social media platforms. I'm mostly on Instagram. And then this is my my only showing my face in the last couple of months.
Well, I'm glad you're showing your face here. So,
Yeah, and I'm very glad to be here. It's so much fun to talk to you guys and to just like like feel social, like you're getting together and you're talking about stuff that you love, and it's very inspiring. So I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to talk to everybody and to meet some of you that I had not previously met. So
I got you here, Susan.
there it is.
Subscribe to you.
There
There you go. I just subscribed. I got
You got one new subscriber.
gal.
Stone, I know you're starting to do some stuff over on your channel. You've done at least one live stream so far over on your channel.
I tried to. I'm going to be doing more stuff on my YouTube channel. There'll be more stuff coming, I assure you. I want to say real quick, I appreciate Piz for mentioning it earlier, but earlier today as a Patreon exclusive, I did record an audio commentary for The Watcher in the Woods with a very special guest, Scott Michael Boscow, who was at the premiere in April 1980. A very, very infamous premiere, and how Disney pulled it, retooled it, changed the endings. We did a full commentary, and we also did a commentary on the alternate endings after the movie proper. And we go into detail about a lot of stuff. We talk about other things. It was a great commentary. Please consider checking that out. Otherwise, stay tuned to my channel because yes, more stuff will be coming.
Thank you. What's going on with your channel, boy? You're muted, one.
Well, that's pretty much what's going on in my channel. No, so on Friday, I have a conversation. Well, myself and Sam, my co-host, we have a conversation with Riley Mitchell of the Paranormal Bucket. The Paranormal Bucket is a great website dealing with all sorts of cryptids and UFOs and all kinds of great Lauren Coleman type material and in search of and unsolved mysteries type of stuff. The book is awesome. It's a list of things to explore before you die. So if you want to dive deep, the book is there. But I'll be talking to Riley on Friday. And then on Wednesday, the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, we have a conversation with Greg Lambertson, the director of Slime City Massacre, Johnny Gruesome. So that'll be about an hour of talking to one of the real underdogs of cinema, one of those guys that has stuck it out and kept making the kind of films that made Sam Raimi make Spider-Man films, but never made a crappy Spider-Man film. So
Spider-Man 3.
And there's some significantly big stuff coming up later in the month that I can't announce yet, but stay tuned.
I want to give a shout out. Actually, I recently picked up this collection of Lauren's erotic fiction. So I'll be checking that out.
Who was moaned just now?
I don't know who did. Yeah, somebody must have read this because they're
somebody moaned, bro. That was a moan.
Erotica is entirely in the eyes of the beholder, so I'm not gonna take that any sort of way.
I always moan like that when I hear the name Dixon.
Yes.
Which part of that last name in particular?
I didn't go through high school, so I've never heard anything like that before. Stop gatekeeping me, Stone.
Oh my god.
What's going on your channel, Christian?
More Blu-ray reviews, Blu-ray recommendations. I did have, I think it was a week and a half ago, Tom McLaughlin. He was awesome. He was it was the best interview I ever had talking to that man. Check that out because he taught me a lot of stuff. I didn't know he turned down Scream, other movies. He turned down a lot of stuff. I wanted to slap him, but he's an awesome guy. He's a hard rocker. Just genuine appreciation more for the movies he's done. So I did that. I'm working on Mick Garris. I'm this close. So I pray to God that happens. Just hit the 11K milestone today. Very proud of myself. Been working my ass off. So that's cool. And I'm putting the power to the people now. Like, instead of just reviewing stuff, I'm giving options. So I asked people if they wanted me to do Willy's Wonderland or Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead 2004, and Dawn of the Dead won by landslide. So that's next. So, that kind of stuff. Just me rambling and talking nonsense about movies. So that's what I got going on.
What about you, Monty? What's going on over on your channel?
Oh man, I had a little bit of a funk too, like Susan was talking about. But back to more fun and thrills. I got some episodes docked that I just need to put out, and more action movies, more 80s thrills, more best fight scenes, more horror mixed in between, more me acting like a nutcase.
Yeah.
Which is just me being myself, because I love to be that way. So you guys tune in.
Mike, what's going on with you behind the scenes, man?
Oh man, a lot of personal business. Yeah, I'm just get quagmired and crap to do all the time, and that's life, right?
Yeah.
But I talked about a crappy zombie comedy tonight. Well, we did a review of one of my favorites that I've seen recently on Lauren's channel last week, Zombie Ready. So I do encourage everybody to check out Zombie Ready. It's a I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was great. I like to experience new things from cultures I know nothing about. So I was lost for quite a bit of it, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I'm still working on some projects in the background. I don't have anything ready yet. I'm doing some editing for the show. I'm trying to keep myself tied in, but I keep getting pulled away by, plumbers and various other workmen that I have to pay large amounts of money to fix my place, and this appointment and that appointment and work. And, it just gets to be a lot sometimes. I barely have time to sit down and watch a flick sometimes, but I'm doing what I can do, staying positive, and hopefully I can get some stuff going.
There you go, Mike.
I've got a Mail Day stream with Jeremy tomorrow at 1 in the afternoon. So come hang out with us. We're going to open some mail. And a couple of Blu-ray review, one Blu-ray review and just a regular review, both for wacky Umberto Lenzi movies. So if you're familiar with Umberto Lenzi, you know what you're in for. And then on the 9th of next month, I'm doing an urban legend live commentary with Jamie Blanks, Rebecca Gayhart.
I was waiting for that.
Michael Rosenbaum's going to be there. Tara Reid's going to be there. A couple other the cinematographer, a couple of the producers. We've got a couple more cast members that may be coming on. So it's going to be a full house. So it'll be.
Oh, Piss, wait up! Hey, what's up, Jared Leto? Yeah, I got a buddy doing a commentary. You want to hop on with real quick? Oh, you're not interested? Okay. Hey, I'm sorry, Piz.
Well, I don't want to set any.
Piz, I'm pulling for you.
I don't want to set any expectations.
I'm pulling for you. You need. I got my fingers crossed. You're getting Jared Leto. I'm serious. I'm dead ass. Some of those people have contact with him.
I've spoken to Jared.
Yeah.
And it may happen. I don't know. I'm trying to talk him into appear in the Joker makeup, so that may happen. I don't know. We'll see. But there may be one big surprise announced for that show in the very near future. So, but it's going to be pretty wild.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's May 9th.
The big surprise is Eric Freeman will be there.
Oh, good old Eric.
If he wanted to, sure. If he wanted to.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Good old Eric. I miss Eric.
He's awesome.
So, all right, yeah. So, let's do some shout outs here. Who's still with us tonight? There's Cameron in the chat. Nico, thanks for tuning in. Jess Graham, Baby Herman.
Yes.
Misha Roma, the Daily Ghost. Media Dude 95. Let's see who else was with us tonight. Jamie was here with us tonight. She wasn't feeling too good, so she didn't make the show tonight. We hope she gets to feeling better very, very soon. Horrid Films, Griffin, Bob Gray, Anthony Anderson, Marbsy. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. We will. There's hey, isn't that Devin Graham?
Andrew,
thank you for tuning in.
Devon Graham.
Yeah, no, I always say it. I say it, Devon. Hey, isn't that Devon Graham? But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all again in a couple of weeks. But until then, if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Check out our Patreon. And until then, have a great one. And peace.
Watch or be punished.